Something like this. Hit it.
The Roger Report live morning show, weekdays at 9 a.m.
Say y'all, I was on Roger's panel a few times and I couldn't take it. The heat. I got out the kitchen. It was hot. I was sweating. I had to get out.
He's Roger, and he's right.
Check this out.
We can live or die. You choose. I have spoken to you a lot of times in hatred and anger, and you have not heard me. Well, you had better hear me today. If you won't listen to me when I make an appeal for the Negroes because you have no concern for the Negroes, listen to me when I make an appeal for America. You claim you love America. Well, we love America. But you are driving us back and you are making a Samson out of us, and we are going to pull down the pillar. And then you think we have no right to ask for something? Is it too much to ask you to grant us human dignity? Should we be put down and shot to death for this request? If so, you can aim your guns. What the hell do you think we care about dying if you're going to deny us the right to live?
Good morning, folks, and welcome to another edition of the Roger Report Live, the best show on social media. If you are new to the channel, go ahead and take a moment out to hit that like button, because this is where you're going to find the best content on social media, and you don't have to worry about it because you're going to have me right here to make sure that happens. And if you've already been coming to the channel for a while, then go ahead, hit that like button, because you already know what time it is, and you know this is where you're going to get the best content on social media. It's not a mystery to you at this point. You've seen other people do it. You've seen other people do it well, but what you have not seen is anyone do it quite the way I do it. So make sure you hit that like button, and everyone, yes, everyone, take a moment out to share the content, y'all. There are so many people who need to get great content like this, and it's just a small thing you can do to help the world be a better place. And isn't that what we want at the end of the day? Don't we want the world to be a better place? Of course we do. So share the content now. Share it through your social media, share it through word of mouth, or even text someone's phone. But do what you got to do to help spread the word. All right, folks, today we are going to dive into some choppy waters. So I'll say some choppy waters, y'all. Some very choppy water. We are going to look at a very real thing. And no matter how we feel about it, it's still a real thing at the end of the day. We are going to look at, this unfortunate incident that came up. And I know some of y'all might be thinking, say, hey, we kind of talked about this. Well, we talked about certain aspects of what actually happened. Okay. Today, we're going to deal with what's been going on with the people. So we're going to deal with the mourning / celebration of Charlie Kirk, of a naive America, y'all. Okay. The death of Charlie Kirk, well, I should say the assassination of Charlie Kirk, has brought a lot of naive people to, display things about themselves on the internet. And we're going to get into it, y'all. We're going to get into it. But before we get into this, let me take a moment out to give credit where credit is due, because we got some great people who support the channel. And I appreciate you big time. And I appreciate everybody who gives me views. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate everybody who gives comments after the stream. Those are helpful, very helpful. I appreciate everybody who hits that like button. And keep in mind, it doesn't make a difference how long the stream has been out. Just hit the like button anyway. Hit it anyway. And I definitely appreciate people who step up to the point and become financial contributors of the channel, because they help me do things the way that I do it, and I cannot do things the same way without these folks. So shout out to everyone who does that. And I gotta say shout out to the sponsor of today's stream, the one, the only, Shaka Nulu. Y'all, Shaka Nulu, the sponsor of today's stream, y'all. Sponsor of today's stream. Now, Shaka Nulu, appreciate you big time, brother. Appreciate you. First person to ever financially contribute to the Roger Report Live. That was Shaka Nulu, the very first person to contribute to the Roger Report Live in any shape, way, or form, from a financial standpoint. So shout out to Shaka Nulu. He definitely been rocking with me since the day one of the day one of the day one of the day one. So shout out. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you, brother. Now, let me give some shout outs to some of the first people to check in this morning, because it's always great that when you start up a show that you get to see a few people checking in here and there. But y'all know how it goes. There can only be one. And that one for today, my main man, Music Man 1982. Appreciate you, brother. You are the Highlander of today's stream. Shout out to you, brother. Shout out to you. Glad to have you here. Glad to have you here. And shout out to my main man following right behind him, the guy who helps keep the order together. Chef Mike's Round Table is in the building. Great to see you. Great to see you. We got Floyd Thompson in the house. Yay, yay. We got my main man Winston Tokahisa in the building. Glad to see you, brother. Glad to see you. I ain't seen you in a while. Glad you're back. Glad you're back. We got Patrick Saint in the building. Inspired Truth Broadcasters here. Shout out to you. I'm listening is in the building. What's up? What's up? What's up? Randall Robinson is here. What's going on, my brother? What's going on? Afro Merchant is in the building. Great to see you. Great to see you. Champ Car for Life is here. What's happening? What's happening? Trust, the darling of the channel, is here. Great to see her, of course. Great to see her, of course. We got 7-9. Kali Hakate is in the building. Great to have you. Great to have you. Y'all, we gonna get into some real deal here, y'all. Okay. Now the Charlie Kirk assassination, which we did discuss a little bit, right? The day after it happened. The day after it happened. Okay. Interesting thing. I don't think people was expecting it to happen anytime soon. Now, I'm going to say, just real talk, I wasn't shocked by it at all. Charlie Kirk has said some things, but there are people mourning Charlie Kirk, and rightly so. He's still a human being at the end of the day. He has family at the end of the day. He has relatives. And you know what? No matter how you see your relatives, you still mourn them. Okay, you could have had a cousin that was never no good to you. Never no good to you. You thought he did a lot of shady stuff. You got a cousin who she was always, trying to get this and get this out of guys and stuff like that. She was always doing folks dirty. Heck, maybe even slept with one of your boyfriends when you was growing up back in the day. But if they meet their demise, you do mourn for them. Because they're family at the end of the day. Okay, they're family at the end of the day. And some folks we just mourn for, people in general, because, the goal for every person born is to die as one of God's children. Okay, that's the goal for every person born, to die as one of God's children. So some of us, we look at people and we say, oh, well, they one of God's children. It is what it is. Okay. So people have mourned for Charlie Kirk, and people will mourn for him for a while, because his death is still a newer thing. So there's going to be some people mourning him for a while, which is totally understandable, especially because he got wife and children. Okay. Now, it's to my understanding, his children are very young. And they might not understand what's going on yet. I even heard one of them is a 1-year-old. I don't know how old the other one is. I just heard they're young. So he probably not that much older than one, But at the end of the day, you do it how you want to do it, because you have a choice. Now, there are consequences that come with choices. Now, I'm going to say this, okay? Shout out to you, Afro. I appreciate that sentiment, brother. I appreciate that. I'm gonna say this, y'all. Real talk. I am always going to be against celebrating a person dying. Okay, regardless of how they died. I have never celebrated a death in my life. I'm pretty sure I will die never celebrating a death. I just don't see the point of a celebration because somebody died. I understand that means for some people, I can get that job promotion because such and such died. I'll be able to get that promotion. Okay, I get that. I understand family members who die. Somebody got some money. They want the inheritance. Okay, and they rather their family member die than to be kept away from some form of inheritance. And it happens. It's not. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm saying this is a real thing. It's people who can't wait for some family member to die so they can take control over certain property or they can get a hold of certain monies. It's a sad thing, you know. But this particular assassination, especially because it happened, it was being live streamed, to my understanding. And now that the internet is the way it is and social media is the way that it is, you got cameras going on all over the place. You got people with different emotions that just gonna let stuff out. Okay. You know, they just gonna let stuff out. And a lot of us, we don't think about what we put out there like that. We don't really think about what we put out there. Now, I'll put a few links in the description, y'all. I'll put a few links in the description so you can see some things have happened. Some things have happened since Charlie Kirk is dead. Now, I do want to say this, y'all, because I tell y'all, I'm a person, I just don't like dealing with false narratives. I just don't like dealing with false narratives whatsoever. Okay? It was stated on my channel, and you know, other folks have said that black men were going to be blamed for this. Well, I saw no evidence of this. Okay. And a lot of us, we got to really start getting a hold of reality. The assassination of Charlie Kirk is just more white on white crime. Now, I've heard some people even say white on white crime. It's like, y'all recognize it now. White on white crime is just regular old crime. It's the most prevalent crime we've ever had in this country because white folks, you know, they are, you know, they do a lot of criminal activities. It's part of their culture. You know, their culture is to kill, steal, and destroy. That's why I like to, you know, deal with white people from an individual standpoint, because as a group, I don't really want much to do with them as a group. I deal with them as individuals because there's some good white people still out there. Okay, there's some good white people still out there, but a lot of them, it's just better for me to stay away from at the end of the day. And I think America's showing that right now. I know people ain't thinking about it in that context, but America's showing that way right now. You got some good white people out there, but you got a lot of white people who gonna show their true colors. I don't think it's the smartest time to necessarily show your true colors, because I just don't think it's smart for anybody to celebrate the death of another person. And some of y'all may disagree, and that's fine. But I'm just saying, honestly, I don't think it's good to celebrate anybody's death, regardless of what you felt about that person, regardless of if you ever met them in real life, regardless, even if it was somebody who was extremely close to you that you just don't like. Okay. Shout out to Randall Robinson. He said, I agree with Roger, and I'm white. Shout out to you, Randall Robinson. Shout out to you for that. Okay. Now, can I control if people are going to celebrate the death of Charlie Kirk? No. Some of y'all gonna do that. Okay, it is what it is. And somebody may say, well, who is y'all? Whoever it fits. I'm talking about you all, the people that that description actually fits. You are going to celebrate his death. Some of y'all have already celebrated his death. Some of y'all just came down from celebrating his death because the weekend just passed. And you kicked it all weekend extra hard, had a few extra drinks, probably even toasted to the death of Charlie Kirk. Because that's what America does. Now, some very interesting things have happened. Now, again, I'm going to say, y'all, I saw no evidence at all that black men were blamed for Charlie Kirk's death. Now, there's enough stuff that goes on that we don't need extra nonsense being put out there. And I'm not saying that people meant it to be nonsense. But we got to learn to be careful with our words. We really do. And we got to make sure that we're actually trying to put out something that's valid and truthful. I saw zero evidence of all the stuff I looked at. I saw zero evidence that black men were blamed for the death of Charlie Kirk. Now, I understand sometimes people have interpretations of things. And interpretation can be wrong. Okay? A lot of folks, just don't critically think the way they should, or have been trained to critically think in a way that literally doesn't make sense. Now, I understand that there are people who had concerns because, according to reports, HBCUs start getting threatened because Charlie Kirk had died. Yep, HBCUs. A term that references historically black colleges and universities. That's what that means. A term that means historically black colleges and universities. So Charlie Kirk got assassinated, and some of the schools start getting threats. Okay. Now, shout out to the faculty of the schools who took this very seriously, because obviously there was some faculty who took it very seriously. Some schools went on a program that was being referred to as being locked down. Okay. Was that the right move to make? Sure. Okay. You got to, do the best you can to ensure the safety of the students. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. Now, when it comes down to it, does this mean black men were being blamed? It doesn't mean that. And honestly, y'all, this is the best conclusion I could come to on why people are even saying that black men were being blamed for Charlie Kirk's death. Which again, I saw zero evidence that the death of Charlie Kirk was being blamed on black men. I saw zero evidence of that. Now, I understand the schools were threatened. That does not mean somebody blamed black men for Charlie Kirk's death. Some people who are too used to being a victim, you will sometimes pick up a victim mentality. You can be a victim without having a victim mentality. Okay, I've been a victim of certain things, but I do not have a victim mentality. Okay, every time I encounter police, I believe I'm going to win. But have I been a victim of police? Absolutely. I've shared that. Okay, I have been a victim, yet I still think I'm going to beat them. Okay, partly because one of the things that, as I told y'all before, I have never met a white man. And I'm not saying this to be funny. I'm just saying it because it's true. I ain't never met a white man who was overqualified. I just ain't never met one. It's that simple at the end of the day. So I do believe if I have an engagement with police, I'm going to win. Now, that ain't going to necessarily be the truth, but that's what I believe about myself. Okay? And I do believe I can win, because if they do mess with me 9 times out of 10, it's going to be on some nonsense, because I don't go around promoting criminal activity or engaging in criminal activity and on some regular way that will put a target on my back. The targets that's on my back is the ones I already got. Okay, I'm black, and I'm a man. Okay, I will say this: the older I've become, it seemed like they get me less and less and less as far as pulling me over, bothering me, asking me questions and things like that. My responses have changed over time. Okay, because I wasn't never really made to be scared of them in the first place. My responses have become bolder to them. All right. It's that simple at the end of the day. I've called myself checking them for a long time. I try to make sure if you bother me for no reason, I make sure this is about to be a bad day for you. Not a bad day for me, a bad day for you. Okay. But that's been happening less and less. And maybe because, I've been getting older and older, which I'm totally fine with at the end of the day. Okay. So now we got these things going along. And y'all, I put some links in the description where it talks about a couple links talking about how people have been fired for quote unquote celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk. Put some link in the description about the HBCUs and how the death threats have been responded. The responses people have made about the death threats going on at the HBCUs. And some folks getting on TMZ because it looked like some TMZ employees were watching a car chase. And during this car chase, it was announced that Charlie Kirk had been assassinated. And they seem to have been celebrating the fact that Charlie Kirk had been assassinated. Now, there's a lot of white folks out here also that have celebrated the death of Charlie Kirk. Again, my personal opinion, I don't see why to celebrate anyone's death, but I understand I'm in a free country and people can do what they want to do. I'm never going to celebrate his death, but I understand people do have a right to celebrate his death if they want to. I wouldn't advise it, but people have that right. And then if you're going to do that, I'm going to say as black folks, why do it in public? If you want to celebrate his death, why do that in public? What do you think is going to come from celebrating some white man's death? Okay. If you're going to do it, why don't you keep it private? Now, unfortunately, there's some black folks out there that have already been public about celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk. Y'all know what happened to them folks? They got fired. What would you expect to happen to black people celebrating the death of a man that they have perceived as being racist toward them and being an enemy of them? What did you think was going to happen? See, I'm asking some real questions and maybe some sobering questions. If you celebrate the death of Charlie Kirk, okay, as a black person, even doing it publicly, what do you think is going to happen? You think they're not going to fire you? You think you too big for the job? I mean, what do you really believe if you're going to do that? Now, I understand if you just did it immediately and you weren't thinking. Sometimes people react without really thinking about what they're doing. I get that. It happens from time to time. But if you think about it, what is the point in celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk online? How can that help you? Okay. And I'm not saying it because I'm choosing sides. I'm saying it because I'm keeping it real. What you got to gain from that? You live in a country still full of white supremacy. All right. And I understand Americans can be very naive. A lot of us naively think that once President Obama got elected, racism was over. A lot of us very naively think stuff like that. You've heard of the term, I'm sure, a post-racial America. All right. Very nonsensical things that people say. White supremacy is coming to an end. How? That's all I can ever ask. When people say it's coming to how? White supremacy is an ideology. Okay, and as I've told people time and time again, unfortunately, I've had multiple channels lost, but I can understand because of the type of content I do. I understand why sometimes channels gonna get lost because I've exposed something that a lot of people never really thought about. If you were born in this country, more than likely you've been trained to be a white supremacist your whole life. You know, you definitely, if you went to public school, you definitely went through white supremacy training. If you watched television, you went through white supremacy training. You read magazines, you went through white supremacy training. You read books, you go through white supremacy training. Okay, who hasn't been trained to be a white supremacist in this country? Truth be told, that's the minority of people. The minority of people have not been trained to be a white supremacist. There's a minority of people who are going through white supremacy training, but also being trained with something else at the same time. That's a minority of people. You know, I'm gonna say shout out to my parents. You know, we got white supremacy training. We went to public schools, me and my brothers and sisters, but we had competing ideas going along with the white supremacy training. We had competing ideas. You know, shout out, you know, to my memories of going to the library, being told to read this, being told to read this, being told that there's literally people who are going to, quote unquote, instruct you, who are going to lie to you. They want you to think a certain way. They're going to lie. Be smart enough to give them the answer they're looking for without ignoring what the truth actually is. See, that's a tricky part about growing up in school. You know, you give them the answer they want because that's what they want. But to actually understand, just because you gave them the answer, don't make the answer the truth. Okay? And this has happened plenty of times. Plenty of times. Okay? Now, should Charlie Kirk death be celebrated? Well, that depends on personal opinion. See, in America, you are supposed to have a right to be able to think for yourself. Okay? You're supposed to have the right to think for yourself. And you could come to a conclusion that his death should be celebrated. I wouldn't agree with you, but you can come to that conclusion. Do I think something bad needs to happen to you because you came to a certain conclusion? Look, Americans come to bad conclusions every day. Okay, every day. There is no day in this country where Americans aren't coming to bad decisions. We should hope that our good decisions outweigh our bad decisions. And I understand how Americans can feel a way about a person. Some people feel good about them. Some people don't feel so good about them. Now, I would say this. I think a lot of white folks have been extremely arrogant about this situation and disillusioned, or they are so hopeful that it's going to mean something to another person, that something they want to happen is going to happen. Because believe it or not, y'all, there have been some people who said that Charlie Kirk being killed is going to be something like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., y'all. That's what the white people pulled out. Now, let's keep it real. When white folks start pulling out Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., they going for the big guns right there. They going for the big guns. Is he going to be viewed like a Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.? For the most part, no, I doubt it. Okay, I doubt it. We'll see over time. But I doubt that's going to happen. Charlie Kirk was not a person fighting for justice for all people. I mean, well, no, some people have that opinion, but honestly, a lot of folks don't believe he was fighting for the justice of all people. He was being an arrogant white man who believes that white people are just better than black people, which is why he has some of the talking points he has. Now, if he did make him to the kingdom of God, and again, y'all, I will never try to judge where his heart was. That is for God to do alone. All I can judge is people's actions, okay? But if he makes it to the kingdom of God, I think he's going to have a huge surprise waiting on him. I'm going to say that. When he finds out what Jesus looked like, I think he's going to be surprised. I'm just going to say that, you know. I'm just going to say that. I'm not saying he couldn't have made it to the kingdom of God. God has forgiven all manner of people. Okay, all manner of people. So it's possible that he's been forgiven too. Not for me to say. I know if he makes it into the kingdom, he gonna be shocked when he see what Jesus looked like, and he find out who the best inventors are. When he finds out who's been the cleverest people, when he finds out, you know, who really did amazing things, because I'm pretty sure a lot of knowledge will be opened up to people once they make it into that position. I think he's going to be shocked. And that's real talk. I really think he's going to be shocked. Not saying he didn't make it, but I believe if he does make it, he's going to be shocked, especially when he looks at his Lord and Savior. Okay. And at that particular point, I'm sure he'll be able to look at his Lord and Savior dead in the eye. It ain't going to be the eye he thought he was going to see. I'm sure he think that's a baby blue eye. But, if you pay attention, you probably would be thinking it's either black or brown. But hey, hopefully he made it in. And you know what? Some people may say, Roger, why would you say hopefully he would make it in? Because I don't hate nobody enough to actually wish hell on them. Period. I can't hate nobody like that. So I hope everybody make it to heaven. Okay, or our perception of heaven, what people call the afterlife, to be able to live with Christ. I hope that for everybody. I don't dislike none of y'all enough to actually want y'all to go to hell. And like that's kind of far, if you ask me. So I'm never gonna celebrate his death the same way I don't celebrate other people's death. Is he the worst person I heard of that died? Nah, not really. Not really. He more of a run-of-the-mill white person to me. He's just a run-of-the-mill white person to me. That's why I really don't believe he gonna get compared to somebody like a Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I understand that's white hope, and white people hope for things, and I get that, and they have a right to hope for things. But come on, man, he was a regular run-of-the-mill white guy on a lot of levels. So I seriously doubt he's gonna ever come up to the legacy of a Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. That's kind of crazy in itself. But I understand some folks gonna keep hope alive. But let me go ahead and share this mic with Inspired Truth Broadcast. You got it, my brother. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. Am I coming in loud and clear?
Yes, sir.
All right. I know I don't really have much time, maybe like 5 or 10 minutes here. So I'm gonna try to circle back in and get back into the conversation a little later. I had to just like drop one big thing that people gotta look at here is like white supremacists are some hypocritical people for real. I mean, spectacularly, amazingly hypocritical. Like we're talking about the same person, like these are the same people that spat on and lied on George Floyd and spat on his memory, lied on and spat on Trayvon Martin and his legacy. Like these are people that had no problem basically denigrating black men and boys when they pass, but then when you see a small fraction of black folk doing it, now suddenly it's not free speech. It's free speech when you do it, but it's not free speech when a fraction of us do it. The other thing that came to mind was the threats against HBCUs. So I thought to myself, okay, is this blaming or is this backlash? And it's really kind of it's really like a distinction without a difference because the end effect is still the same thing. It's still pushing the same narrative of racial animus, which they've already been on. It's a continuum. They've already been on this stuff while they're touting that whole 1350 thing, trying to say that, okay, well, this small population of black people are responsible for half of the homicides and all of that stuff, trying to make us out to be like monsters or something. And when you actually go and you look at the data, it doesn't reflect that at all whatsoever. It's like constant. It's not just turning points. It's not just Charlie Kirk. It's the whole entire ecosystem of basically white supremacists and their rhetoric promoting a whole bunch of negative stuff about us. And we're supposed to be mourning when one of them goes down. Like even the NFL teams, like even the NFL team here where I live, or it ended up memorializing this guy. Like they're lionizing him now. Like they're changing the entire narrative of what he was about into some sort of big positive First Amendment, telling telling and using the freedom of speech to the best of your abilities and making it a great cultural asset to America. And it's amazing how that how that narrative can go out there and actually take hold in people's minds. Like the way that they twist and warp reality is mind blowing. But I just had to drop that before, into the conversation and see where that goes from here.
Oh no, a lot of that gonna be talked about. Because see, this is the thing. We as black people got to be smart at all times. We don't really get to take days off. So my thing is you give them ammo to use when you come up with a bunch of lies. So whoever started the lie about their blaming black men, you didn't help at all. Because you got people repeating that dumb lie. No one that I saw ever blamed black men for his death. The
And here's
thing
another.
is, no, go ahead. Say what you want to say. Go ahead.
Like another thing, like so when you mentioned like them kind of trying to make parallels between Charlie Kirk and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., that was the most despicable thing they could have possibly done because he actually called MLK a horrible person. You're gonna be like MLK and then you call MLK a terrible person. It makes no sense. The hypocrisy is amazing.
Well, I'm gonna say this. I only saying that because after going through social media, you know what I'm saying? I do what I can to look up stuff and see stuff. And I actually seen this coming out of white folks' mouths. Multiple white folks were saying he should be compared to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. But I'm gonna say this, y'all. If you are telling lies, you're not helping. Because to me, it's very disturbing that black folks, the few black folks that hopefully it's just a few of them, running with this narrative that black men were blamed for Charlie Kirk's death. Not a good idea. You're not helping. Okay? The only thing you're really doing is giving white folks something to throw at you. Because I didn't see anybody blame black men. I'm gonna just say that straight up. I didn't see not one person. And I understand, even if you look at social media, you could just see something that you assume a bunch of people are doing. It's only one or two people doing it. I didn't see anybody blame black men for this death. And I'm going to say it also shows how naive we are, because only being very naive do you look at the fact that HBCUs were threatened. And I'm assuming that's where it must have came from. But if that's where you got the idea that black men are being blamed, you're an idiot. Okay, you an idiot too. Okay, why do you come up with an idea that we have to be blamed for Charlie Kirk's death for some white people to want to call in the bomb threat, or for white people wanting to hurt you? When have white people not wanted to hurt black men? See, we got to get real about stuff. You just as dumb. Okay. When did they ever need a reason to hurt black men? Now I understand people may say, well, you know what? What about black women? They never cared about hurting y'all or not. Black women really go down mainly about your proximity to a black man. And that's just the reality of it. They don't really care that big a deal about black women. But when have they ever needed a reason to hurt a black man? So when you talk about, schools receiving threats, yeah, some white guy died. So what should we do about the white guy dying? Let's just kill some niggas. Or let's at least pretend we're going to kill some niggas. They don't need to blame you to want to hurt you. And I'm going to say, for black folks, that's an extremely naive viewpoint of America. If you think you got to do something wrong for white people to want to hurt you, you kind of slow. And that's real talk. And I don't appreciate it myself. They already do enough of what they do that we don't need to be making up stuff about them. And I just don't see how that's going to help in any kind of shape, way, or form. And that's real talk. They do plenty of nasty stuff. Then why do we need to lie about what they're doing? So if you picked up on that nonsense, okay, stop. Let it go. And I definitely had to say something about it because it was somebody said it on my show. I ain't gonna trip that it was said. But you know, I don't like false narratives. When I come to find out something ain't true, I like to say something about it. So no, it's not true. I saw zero evidence of anybody blaming black men for the death of Charlie Kirk. That has nothing to do with the fact that white people want to hurt you.
I see it as kind of a misunderstanding of blame versus backlash. So like there is definitely, you could definitely make an argument for a backlash, but it's not necessarily like the same as blame. And sometimes those two things can get misconstrued. Like, so A happened and then the result is that B happens, but it's not actually blame. It's more along the lines of backlash, but then it's also tied to a continuum of what they were already doing anyway.
And if anything, you will start to make some black folks who don't know no better think that you actually got to give them a reason to do you in. They don't need no reason. They ain't never need one. They ain't gonna never need one. You're not preparing the children, as they say. What if you grow up and your child thinks white people only gonna do something to them if you do something to them first? You setting up your kid for failure.
True.
And that's just real talk. And I'm talking about from a general context. Okay? It's a lot of dead black kids that trusted white kids. Now, am I saying white kids can't be trusted? I'm not saying that. I wouldn't teach my kids to do it, though. I wouldn't teach my kids to do it. I don't think my children would be mentally developed enough to hang around. I'm just telling you what I would do. As if I'm a father of some children, you don't understand the world enough for me to let you trust white. I'm not saying you got to be anti them or whatever, but don't go spend the night at their house. You know what I'm saying? That you might die. You know what I'm saying? Don't be taking trips with them. You might die. It is what it is on that note. I love my kids to take that type of chance. Everything's a chance at the end of the day. Nothing's guaranteed in life, but that you're going to die. For a small child who couldn't protect themselves the way I could protect myself, I'm just keeping it real. I'm not sending my kids with no white folks like that. I'm just not. It may not be the kid that they're friends with that's the problem. It may not even be the kid's immediate family that's the problem. But what if they go see a cousin? What if they see an uncle? And those folks don't look at my child the right way? It's far too many factors that could come into play where my child would be in a threatened position. I just rather my children not be in a threatened position. It's that simple at the end of the day. Okay? So some people may try to say, well, see, now you're trying to make it about white people. No. It is about white people because a lot of black people don't end up with good results around them. So at the end of the day, I would not want my kids hanging around white folks like that until they're adults. I want them to be able to protect themselves from a multitude of different levels. And a small child just can't think for themselves well enough that I'm going to give my child permission to go off with a bunch of white folks. It just wouldn't happen. Now, does that mean black people won't get them? No, I don't mean that. But I mean, there's only so much trust I got to give out in the world at the end of the day. Now, the thing is, I still don't, that doesn't mean I'm okay with people lying on white people. I'm not good with people lying on white people, talking about they gonna do this and they gonna do that. I'm not good with that. They do enough stuff. What you need to lie for? Okay, we just point out how they live. You don't need to lie. It's plenty of stuff wrong with them. That lies are just unnecessary and will take away from what we need to really examine. Now, I'm gonna say this. Yes, there's going to be white people mourning this man for a while. They have a right to mourn this man for a while. We shouldn't be tripping about people mourning this man for a while because you mourn your people too. So if you can mourn yours, they can mourn theirs. Now, anybody who say, well, I just don't, well, see, look what type of life he lived, and he just wasn't for us like that. And, we screwed. Look, I ain't going to tell you how to feel about a man. That's on you at the end of the day. I ain't going to tell you how to feel about a man. But I am going to say this. Y'all got to look at how the real world works. White folks been celebrating the death of black people for years, for decades. Heck, probably millennia, but I'm just gonna keep it to America for right now. Shout out to all my people listening around the world. I'm just gonna keep it to America. They've been celebrating the death of black people for centuries. Okay. You just mentioned George Floyd. What y'all think white people did when it came to George Floyd? Y'all don't think it's a celebration every time some white man is able to get away with killing some black man, and things they expect to get away with stuff. So they celebrate early and they celebrate often. And usually their celebration don't really change until somebody gets convicted of something. And real talk, a lot of times stuff there's no conviction that ever comes in a lot of cases. So the celebration never truly stops. Now I'm not saying any black people should be celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk. I would not promote that whatsoever. I just don't see that as right in any kind of way. But y'all think Emmett Till's death wasn't celebrated? Them people were fine with that.
There were celebrations and like mimicking, mocking memes for some of us, so you had like George Floyd, and you had the several people with the memes with, people's, knee on, the back of the neck thing. And then even with Elijah McClain, the officers themselves had the mimicking, mockery with the, one guy like in the how would I call this? Like, the whole that was mocking that, for basically imagery purposes. It's amazing hypocrisy that we deal with. It just is.
Well, the thing is, people, the generation that killed Emmett Till, they raised children and they raised grandchildren. Those are some of the people who got issues with you if you're mocking the death of a person like Charlie Kirk, because Charlie Kirk sees things more in the way that they saw. He saw white folks as superior. It just is what it is. If you listen to the man, you see white folks, you see he has a message that white folks are superior. Now, my thing is he's clearly wrong, but that's what he believed. And what we got to understand is belief is something you choose. You believe what you want to believe. Some people believe the Bible. The Bible is in direct conflict with most scientific theories I've ever heard of. Now, let me say that again. Think about what's being said, y'all. Some of y'all believe the Bible, but the Bible is in conflict with most scientific theory I've ever heard. Now, you slower people are going to say the Bible was in conflict with science because you're slow. I didn't say the Bible's in conflict with science at all. I say it's in conflict with theory, stuff that has not been proven. It is in conflict with a bunch of theories. I've never seen it in conflict with science itself. Science is the thing that we can prove. I've never seen it in conflict with something we could prove. But I know of a lot of theories that is totally in conflict with. Okay? So at the end of the day, belief is a choice. And that's what folks don't get. Belief is a choice. And the type of people that raised the killers of Emmett Till, they had children. They had grandchildren. Heck, by this time, it's possible a lot of them have had great-grandchildren, because Emmett Till was killed in 1955 in this America. It is this society that produces people like Charlie Kirk. What is Charlie Kirk saying that's so different than what other people were saying years and years ago? When I look at an old documentary, what's the difference between the white folks on there and Charlie Kirk? Charlie Kirk may say it in a nicer way, but he definitely say white folks superior. He believes Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was saying, yeah, and he also said that the Civil Rights Act was a mistake. Like, so again, like tying that, saying that's parallel to MLK, it's nonsensical. It
Yeah.
really is.
And when you look at it, the fact that he would even speak on the civil rights as if it did something to harm white people, and it did something to harm white men. Well, see, the thing is this: y'all shouldn't believe that Charlie Kirk don't really understand who got help from the Civil Rights Act. If y'all don't think he understands that's mostly white women, I got to look at you a little funny. You really think he talking on that, and they never took the time out to actually really see what the Civil Rights Act how it truly helped and who it truly helped? So he would know the biggest helping hand went to white women, and the next biggest helping hand went to white men. Y'all think Charlie don't know that? Well, he knew it. You know, I ain't gonna say no because he gone now. But speaking from an earthly standpoint, y'all think he didn't? That wasn't known by Charlie, but he would say certain stuff anyway. So I don't think he was just talking out the side of his neck because he didn't know what was going on. I think he knew exactly what was going on, but he presented what he wanted to present. Now, again, I've said before, I wasn't shocked that he got killed. It made sense to me that he was going to get killed. He went out of his way to offend different groups of people. Everybody ain't going to let you slide all the time. And the thing is, from a general standpoint, I'm going to say this. Black people will let you slide on a lot of scenarios because we actually respect other people and the way our belief systems operate. A lot of times, Black folks will let folks slide. I'm not saying whether it's the smart thing or the right thing. I'm saying what does happen. We let people slide in a lot of stuff, but everybody else ain't gonna just let you slide. So when you're I can't speak. When you're talking bad about Black men, yeah, you might be able to get away with that for a while. But when you start talking bad about other folks, hey, they play the same type of games you play, don't they? I mean, it just is what it is. Now, I still don't believe that somebody should celebrate the man's death. I don't care how much you disagree with him. Celebrating his death, to me, is always going to be a bad idea. You know, there's two major things that happen in life: death and hospitals. Meaning, if you got to go to the hospital, that's something serious. Or if somebody some person you know and you really rock with, if they end up dying, that's a big deal. I don't think you should play with that in general. If your dad died and people cracked a joke about it, what would you think? And I'm saying your dad because a lot of folks are okay with what happens to them and they can just brush that off. But what if it ain't you? What if it's somebody you love? What if someone you're close to? Then what? It's easy to say, I don't care what they think if it happened to me for some folks. But what if it don't happen to you? What if it happened to somebody you close to? So if you got a dad and your dad get picked off, how you think about that? Okay. But my main man, No Placeholder, has come up. So let me go ahead and let him get the mic. Go ahead, No Placeholder. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well, Roger. And yourself?
Doing fantastic.
It's good to hear. That's good to hear. A shout out to the chat as well as Champ just came up. Yeah. But yeah, I'm kind of a little disappointed that we got caught in this misdirection, because when the situation unfolded, the first thing they came out was to blame the left. And we got caught up in this because it only took 48 hours later on to find out who actually did it. And if basically people ignored the misdirection for a short amount of time, they would able, because that's what's really going on right now. It's like we should be having a conversation about why this young white male from this conservative background, the conservative environment, killed the king of conservatism. I'm saying the young king of conservatism. I'm saying, so we should be having that conversation, but we're over here talking about stuff that basically, like I said, it's like it has nothing to do with us. I was actually listening to what's it, Shahid Bozon. I guess you guys call him Talcum X. But and he was upset. He was like, they asked me to talk about the killing of this young white boy, and he's like, I don't know why. He's like, why are you asking me to talk about it? You see? She's like, that's nothing to do with us, and it's exactly the philosophy that we should like. What makes like, what are you talking about? You see? It's like this has nothing to do with us, regardless of what the situation unfolded. It has nothing to do. I'm saying with us. But anyway, I'll begin there.
Okay. And I'm gonna say, yeah, the whole thing is that's what I'm saying. America is having some very naive responses based on what I've seen. America is having. I'm not saying it's just black people having naive responses. It's white folks having naive response. Some very naive responses are going on right about now. But I'm gonna get into that in a little bit more. I'm gonna let go. Champ Crop for Life go ahead with his opening statement. You got it, my brother.
Hey, good morning, brothers. I hope you all are having a good day, or had a good weekend and everything else. What's happening right now is they're trying. They're trying their best to somehow angle this situation. Unfortunately, Roger, to black folks. Okay. Even though this was a white-on-white incident, even though this was a guy who was from Utah, went to Utah State University, and everything else, they're using coded language like radical leftists. Now, radical leftist is a white man's, is a term that white folks created, for that has ties to Marxism and all that type of stuff. And, they believe, in trying to include people from different races, different ethnic backgrounds, but having a bigger melting pot, that everybody can share, could have a piece of pie of, the whole pie and all that type of stuff. And usually radical people were left and everything else, they're involved in human rights issues and everything else. Against, segregation, against, the genocide of different ethnic people and everything else. So what I see right now is that they're using some form of coded language of radical leftists is trying to suggest that this guy got influence through black culture, whether it's hip hop and all that type of stuff, even though we had nothing to do with it and everything else. So that's what I'm looking at right now, Roger, is that they're trying to find some way, somehow, to try to blame black folks for this. I mean, look, for example, Megyn Kelly a couple of days ago, she said Barack Obama is the reason why we have terrible race relations. What does he have to do with this? Nothing. He doesn't have anything to do about it. But white folks want to find something to blame on black people. That's what they're trying to do. So I'm gonna land my plane there.
Okay. Now I'm gonna say I think that's a lie, straight up, and I'm just being honest. I don't see white folks trying to blame black people for the assassination of Charlie Kirk in any shape, way, or form. I don't see it at all. I think sometimes people look at stuff too much and then they want to be included. I don't see nobody pointing at us. They all know that a white man killed. I mean, come on, real talk. Everybody in general knew just about from the start the way he was killed that a white man probably did it. Because that's how white people will kill people, especially over something that you can view as a political situation. I never heard anybody say the black people did it. They never say anything that implied black people did it. What you just said that Megyn Kelly said, her mentioning Barack Obama, and her talking about race relations, I don't even see how that's connected to Charlie Kirk. So maybe Charlie Kirk was part of that conversation. Maybe he wasn't. That has nothing to do with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Nothing. And my thing is, there's enough that you can blame white people for that you don't need to make up stuff to blame them for. I haven't seen them try to connect any dot to the death of Charlie Kirk. Now, how they gonna act toward black people ain't got nothing to do with Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, but they're just
Charlie Kirk is just a guy who talked just like his grandpa talked. I'm sure. Who talked just like his great granddaddy talked. I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, do y'all understand when these people were alive? Like 1955, in a certain context, is a long time ago. In another context, it ain't that long ago. How old was your daddy in 1955? How old was your grandpa in 1955?
He was in his 30s.
You know what I'm saying?
My granddad was like 35 back then.
Well, I ain't mean you personally. I'm just saying from a general standpoint, people got to look at how old were these people. Charlie Kirk come from those folk. I'm not saying his people was racist. I'm just saying that's the generations we're talking about, y'all. Charlie Kirk was 31 years old. Now, I don't know anything about his family like that. But let's just say we do a simple 25 years, y'all. Let's do a simple 25 years. What if his dad was 25 when he had Charlie? And then what if his granddad was 25 when he had Charlie's dad? Okay. That great granddad, 25 years older than that. You're only talking about 75 years ago. Okay. Stuff wasn't that great then. Yeah, stuff was not that great then. Those people were getting information from people who participated in lynchings. See, it's for me, lynching is history. You know, now I understand it's close history, but it's history. I wasn't alive when white folks was just out here lynching people like that. I wasn't participating in it. But what if your granddaddy did? What if your great granddad did? And most folks don't know people past their great granddad, so I'm gonna kind of slow it down right there. A lot of folks don't really know people past their granddads anymore, anyway, because you know life expectancies and things like that. What if you were the son of the man that participated in the lynching? Okay, or maybe you was just a little too young to participate in the lynching, but you like this. It's cool. You know, if you look at those old pictures out there, it's plenty of pictures where, you know, the kids, heck, the whole family came out to celebrate the lynching. So what I don't want to act like is deaths aren't celebrated in America. I personally don't agree that deaths should be celebrated. But this America. And it was plenty of white folks celebrating Charlie Kirk's death too. Is that not the American way? Have white folks not celebrated the deaths of other people since everyone listening right now been alive? Do y'all ever remember a time in America where white folks weren't celebrating the death of somebody? Now, I don't want to sound too crazy or nothing for y'all, but I'm going to just say the truth because the truth is what it is. I don't remember when white people didn't celebrate the death of somebody. I don't remember that. When did that ever happen? You know, I'm totally against celebrating the death of people. But when did white people ever not celebrate the death of other Americans? I didn't live in that world. That's not the America I know. Now, I tell y'all time and time again, I love America, but that don't mean America perfect. I don't know of America where death isn't celebrated of an enemy. That's not the America I grew up in. That's not the America I live in now. So people celebrating Charlie Kirk's death expected. Now, I'm going to say the only twist I see in this particular case, if they see you celebrating Charlie Kirk's death, now they're firing you. Now, I'm going to say I've seen some black folks who got fired over celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. And some stuff that they said that's a long stretch from even interpreting that they were celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. I see a lot of white folks that done got fired because they celebrated Charlie Kirk's death. Are black people celebrating Charlie Kirk's death? I'm pretty sure if you look long and hard enough, sure you'll find some. But at the end of the day, that ain't even really us. It's them. They like killing people. They like participating in it. If they wasn't able to participate, they just like that it happened. The culture of white folks is killing, stealing, and destroying. That's the culture I know about. That's the culture that's in school. We can say whatever we want and make it sound good, but everything America has been based on killing, stealing, and destroying. They supposedly came to a land. They lied to the people. They made treaty over here, treaty over there, backstabbed everybody that made a treaty with. This how white folk get down, man. This just how they get down. And Charlie just seems to be a guy who want to go back and live in yesteryear. He just wanted to participate maybe in the stories that his grandpa used to tell him. That's all. Now, am I mad at Charlie Kirk because he wanted to be separate? No, I ain't never had a problem with segregation. Never had a problem with segregation. The more I grew up and understood what segregation was, the less I had a problem with it, because now everybody can't say this. But me personally, I've never wanted to really hang out with white people anyway. Not because I just got a problem with the color of their skin. It's because I've been told too many stories about what white people do. Hanging out with them sounds dangerous. I'm just gonna keep it real. You know, I know people want me to buy into this idea I should be scared of my own people. But hanging out with white people sounds dangerous. Now, why does it sound dangerous? Because what they have done historically in this country. It's not because somebody, is preaching something in my ear. No, I just grew up going through the regular white supremacy school system. I watched regular white supremacy controlled television. I heard regular white supremacy controlled radio. I went to regular white supremacy controlled movies. They just not a safe people to hang out with based on what they tell me about them. I'm not even talking about what other folks said about what they tell me about them. They sound a little dangerous. And I'm just keeping it real. Shout out to Randall Robinson. He said, come on, Roger, can we kick it? Hey, bro, I got nothing against white folks, but the problem with white folks, they kick it in bunches. I can't be outnumbered. You know what I'm saying? I'm just keeping it real, bro. Maybe me and you could go there and sit down and eat a meal together or something like that. But if you invite me to something where your friends are coming to, I'm going to have to decline. Okay, I done declined every invitation that some white person that invited me to come do some things with a bunch of white people being there. Just real talk. It's just not safe. Now, I understand that's not politically correct. I know that's not politically correct, but I just don't see being around 3, 4, 5, 6 white guys is safe. And that's just real talk. And then if I hurt them, they're going to blame me for hurting them. I understand political things that's going to happen and things like that. If I hurt them, they're going to blame me for hurting them because they're not safe to hang out with, but that don't mean when they die, I should celebrate. I just don't see that as the right thing to do. But I want y'all to notice how America is tripping because somebody's celebrating his death with all the things that he stood for. Notice that. You never really heard all these black folks have been killed in wrong ways. You ain't never heard about anybody getting fired for celebrating. Maybe y'all have. I've never heard of it. When people celebrated Trayvon Martin's death, I didn't hear about anybody getting fired. Okay? None. I just ain't heard it. Now, one of y'all was about to say something. I'll go ahead with what you was about to say. Because I ain't mean to cut you off, especially for that long. Chad, was that you about to say something?
No, I wasn't going to say something and everything else. I do want to make a point, though. You are right. That's the history, of white folks and everything else. They destroy everything. They destroy civilizations and try to conquer and everything else, and then claim it that it was their divine God-written right according to their interpretation of the Bible. The Bible, they use a lot, they use this Bible, the religion. They've used it to try to justify a lot of stuff and everything else. And unfortunately, some of our own people, unfortunately, kind of buys into that behavior, which is sad. and everything else. That's been the history and everything else. I mean, when you hear these people sit up there talking about Charlie Cook was a good Christian, okay, well, if he was a good Christian, I guess he was listening to some of some of the things that the KKK used to use. Hell, the KKK was a religious organization, that lynched and killed black people.
Well, hold on, because this is my thing about that. There's something called a slave Bible, and a lot of people don't know the difference. There's a slave Bible where you have a very edited version of the Bible. So when you start editing stuff down, and most of it's missing, you can use just about anything to misinterpret something deliberately. And you got to understand, white folks like to misinterpret things deliberately so they can feel justified because they have an image that's important to them. And that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. But I'm going to tell you right now, the messaging that I see America telling people right now, if you believe Charlie Kirk is a racist, if you believe he was against black folks, if you believe he was against other people, because it wasn't just black folks that he had issues with, and you criticize I ain't going to say criticize, but if you celebrate the fact that he died, we want to harm you. He is the last white man that y'all should be having a good time because he died. Because America stands for what he represented. That's what I'm going to say. I ain't really seen this happen with other folks like that. I have not really seen open, we coming for your job type thing going on. Has it happened to somebody in the past? Sure. I mean, all kinds of stuff has happened to people. Okay. All type of stuff has happened to people. But has America gone after folks for celebrating the death of somebody? Not the way I'm seeing it now. I'm going to say that, y'all. Not the way I'm seeing it now. So I think America doesn't agree that you should celebrate his particular death. I'm not going to say America not cool with you celebrating deaths. They not cool with you celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. That's what I see America being said. Is what America is saying.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, because I mean, they basically have just made this man almost into a saint, almost.
Well, I mean, that's what they want to do, but it's just not going to happen because his legacy don't really match like that.
Yeah, his legacy doesn't match like that and everything else. It is just really silly, that they're sitting up there trying to compare him to Dr. Martin Luther King, despite the fact that he has said some horrible things about Dr. King and the civil rights movement and everything else. Another thing too, some of these white dudes like him, they have a problem. They definitely have a problem with black men. They have a very, very serious problem with strong.
What you mean, American? You said men like him. What you mean, American?
Men like him. I meant to say men like him. Men like him.
I'm messing with you, but that's my thing. If you're an American man, you probably do got a problem with black men. Because that's what's taught in this country.
Yeah, he had a problem with strong black men and everything else. He really did. He didn't like the fact that
I don't even think the men got to be strong. I just think they got a problem with you, period.
Well, they don't mind going after a weak, a black man, who's kind of. And that's when that mindset, will start kicking in and everything else. All these in people, man, they're no good. Look at all the crime. They're 13%, but they commit 50% of the crime. They push that narrative because they don't like to see strong black men like yourself, or that's right.
But I'm also saying I don't think they got a problem. I mean, I think they have a problem with weak black men. Now, if you're a weak black man, you can probably service them better, but I don't think they like them either. I'm just saying that's my viewpoint. They don't like weak black men. They like them far more than stronger black men because they can use weak black men against other black men. So they appreciate that. But liking them, I wouldn't go that far. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Now, the fact that stuff is there's a repercussion happening to people for celebrating Charlie Kirk's death, to me says a lot about America. Because I understand from a general standpoint, it's like, well, why would you say something like that? You know, people shouldn't celebrate the deaths of people, which I actually agree with that. But how come it took Charlie Kirk's death for people to get fired over celebrating a death? Because if it's just about not celebrating the death, then people should have been fired all kinds of places for all kinds of people. You know, Philando Castile death was celebrated. I didn't hear anybody get fired over that. So is it about celebrating the death of a person, or is it about celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk? Okay, I mean, they had that whole Black Lives Matter movement, right? The white people created an organization to push the destruction of the nuclear family. And there was a lot of contention going on. Okay?
Hey,
But
Roger.
I didn't hear about nobody getting fired over celebrating a black man's death. And there was plenty of black men you could have picked from during that time frame. Plenty of black men. I ain't heard nobody got fired over any of those black men dying. Not one.
Yep. You're right. Hey, Roger. One other thing I want to point out. There's still a lot of white folks, are still pissed off about that during that George Floyd incident, when we were, when things went down, with the riots and everything else. They really are. They got a bug on their asses over that. They also still got a bug on the behinds, 30 years ago, what happened when O.J. Simpson got acquitted. I mean, if you mention O.J. Simpson in some of your workplaces to this day, 30 years later, you'll get reprimanded for that.
Well, that's because they want to believe that O.J. killed that white woman.
Right.
And O.J. killed that white man that happened to be with her.
Yeah.
So the fact that he was acquitted, you know what I'm saying? They like, no, that's a nigga. Y'all supposed to get that nigga. Point blank period. They don't care whether OJ actually did it or not. And they try to convince folks that OJ did it because they just want a better image. That's all it is to it. They want to say there's a reason I hate OJ. Because when you look at the system that they always talking about, where the system said OJ didn't do it. So do you agree with your system or you don't agree with your system? Because if the system acquits other murderers off that happen to be white, that kills some black folks, you always, from a general context, they talk about how the system did its job. But the system did its job in the OJ case too. That same system did its job. So they just upset that quote unquote nigga got away, and now the system wrong. But it's only wrong in that one particular case where the nigga got away, which is crazy work when you think about it.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
yeah.
Well, hold on, no. I got Shark then came up, so let me let him
Shark is up there, so let him go. Go ahead,
right.
Shark.
Shout out. Oh, my bad. Murder was the case that they gave me. Has the floor. Go ahead. Murder was the case.
Hey, what's up? How y'all doing today, fellas? Happy Monday.
Happy Monday, brother. I'm good.
How you doing today, brother? Go ahead.
I'm all right. I want to touch on a couple topics. Well, he's a wild dude, Charlie. I forgot his name, Charlie Kirk or whatever. He a wild dude. Somebody had played a clip where it was a young dude. He was like, "Yo, how do you feel about Trayvon Martin?" I think he said George Zimmerman and OJ. This nigga going to say Trayvon Martin was hunting George Zimmerman, right? So then the youngins going to say, well, what about George Zimmerman? He's like, well, George Zimmerman, he got acquitted by a jury of his peers, so it is what it is with him. Then the nigga says, well, what about OJ? He's like, yeah, OJ is guilty as a motherfucker. I said, no, this nigga did not, son.
Say right after that, huh? Right after that.
I said, yo, you guys. I said, yeah, son, wow. And then, as far as the honestly, Roger, weak black men are pedestalized by white supremacy and just America in general. Your black ass would not be able to do. You would never get on TV, Roger. The only reason why we are able to meet you is because of this thing called the internet. But Don Lemon to be on TV, all these other guys that just came before us, the Al Rokers, all of them, they get on TV. They get pedestalized. They get all kinds of accolades. They become rich. You know what I mean? Most of these rappers that you hear now, even though they talking about killing everything, those are the weak black men that get pedestalized that they don't have a problem with. But you, oh no, bro, that ain't happening. Oh, brother like Black Uber, you think they let him get a talk show?
If it was gonna happen, I'm sure it would have happened by now.
You think they would even let him get a reality show or a BGS? Like, no, it's not happening. Or Mr. Z or one? No, it ain't happening.
No, they're not gonna give it to Mr. Z or Brother
Roger.
Roger.
You think Hot Sauce would get a chance on TV? No, not happening. And then I want to say I got a chance to see the Kev C versus Charlie Kirk. Yo, Kev put his foot in that boy ass. I ain't going front, man.
Shout out to KFC. If you're listening, send me the link. Okay, send me the link.
KFC put that thing on him, and it's funny because I know we're not allowed to like talk about different show hosts and all that, but it was a dude. He's not in the black manosphere, but he's like very adjacent. He puts a lot of facts and stats up, and he literally used the Kev C excerpt to prove some of his points and stuff. And he was like, yeah, you see, the black man got up there and let him have it, and the black dude knew his facts and da 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 da. So yeah, Kev C out here in these streets with foot and Charlie Kirk ass. So that's a good thing right there. But even a dude like Kev C, like he had Charlie just stumbling over words and I didn't say this and I didn't say that. And it's like, if you like us, you cannot have a voice. And I think that's one of the reasons why they don't really like the internet as much as they will lead you to think, you know what I mean? It's because now we all got a voice.
Well, I think that's very much a huge part of it. And KFC, send me the link. Or anybody who got the link, send me the link. But I don't want to say that he had to die for something like that to be released, because I want to see how much Kev had a foot up in that behind. You know what I'm saying? Before I even say something like that. But hey, it is what it is. But the thing is, I think America's naive about what's going on with white supremacy in this country. Because
they're not naive. Why? Like, this dude wasn't that big. Like, he's not a like, I don't know how. I didn't even think he was that big until now, when all of these different people is talking about him, and I don't know if it's just they using him, for the fact of having content to make. But all of these other white dudes, the Glenn Becks and all of they acting like they, and it made me realize, like, he's the one who was gonna say the stuff they wanted to say, but they wasn't gonna say it out loud. So like, probably when they eating lunch, they say all the stuff Charlie Kirk say.
Well, I think that was well, let me just say real quick. I think that's why Charlie Kirk was back so heavy, because at the end of the day, he said stuff that they wanted said, and that's what rich people do. They give money to people who saying stuff they want to hear. It's the same thing I told y'all, when they go find a black person who gonna say something that we think is wild and crazy, they go find them people and they give them money. Well, since you're gonna talk like that, just be yourself, and we just gonna give you some dollars, and that's it. Because we'll put you on the biggest stage as long as you can talk bad about them niggas. We got you, man. You'll live good. You'll have a nice house. We get you in a nice neighborhood. What kind of car you like? You want that new Cadillac? We got that Cadillac for you. Don't worry about it. You want that Benz? Oh, we got that Benz. Whatever you need, we got you. Okay, we're gonna give you good benefits and everything. So we gonna get you a nice wife. Your kids gonna be taken care of. Everything gonna be good, long as you keep talking bad about them niggas. And that's what rich white folks have done time and time and time again. Exactly. So Charlie was just a white guy doing it. So they was like, well, you gonna talk it? Come on. We got some checks for you. Because he truthfully wasn't that big. He's big in a certain spectrum. I get that. The people who know him. But from the general thing, and that's why I said the other day, I don't think most Americans care that he lived or died. Now, that doesn't mean the people who paid attention to him wasn't celebrating his death, because they did. Okay, but they even went after white folks celebrating his death. So the powers that be are giving a message, because they didn't go after you. When Philando Castile got that, I didn't hear about nobody getting fired because they celebrated his death. I ain't hear nothing like that. Okay, been a lot of, in the last 10 to 15 years, been a lot of black men who have been on TV in a major public way, and nobody seemed to care. And I don't remember anybody getting fired over celebrating their deaths at all. Not one person at all. So, but now Charlie Kirk done caught a bullet. Now it's don't celebrate his death. And I don't even agree with celebrating deaths, but I'm just saying this is what the messaging. That see, everything is not told word to word. You got to pick up on the messaging. So the messaging is saying, yeah, if a nigga die, you can celebrate that all you want. But if you see a white man who don't like niggas, don't you dare come against him. Don't you dare. Not even in death.
Yeah, that's and you notice the age difference, because quiet as kept. A lot of the people getting in trouble for celebrating his death and laughing at it, and even like the TMZ thing, that was funny. That was hilarious. Those are like probably 40 and under white people.
Yep.
Like the hip hop generation. Well, not saying they all listen to hip hop, but that generation, like 40 and under, they was happy, and they celebrating getting fired from work. They on Twitter saying all kinds of crazy stuff. But it's the older white people that's on some more, you know what I mean? It shows now. It's like, oh, okay. Y'all was just being quiet, letting him say everything y'all wanted to say. But now you ain't got nobody to say no more. So what's gonna happen? Who y'all gonna bring out next? Because remember, he got shot by a white person.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say, when it comes down to it, the thing is this: white folks keep the younger white folks in line. You know what I'm saying? Because we look at things in this way, like we not really connecting the dots. Like people, we talk about 1964. I brought up 1964 several times in the past. Remember, the people who was around doing all that stuff in 1964, you're dealing with their children and their grandchildren right now. The people who was actually at their granddaddy's feet. Granddaddy was sitting in a chair, you know what I'm saying? Leaned back in the chair talking to his grandkids, and he was telling his grandkids how we used to lynch these niggas. That's regular. I understand it's historical when you say 1964. That's somebody's granddaddy, man. It's people alive right now. Their granddaddy was firmly here in 1964. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's not that long ago. It seemed long ago from a certain context. But granddaddy was telling his grandkids how he lynched some niggas. How they mutilated him after he was dead. Some of them pulled out a jar. I still got them niggas' balls from 56. Yeah, we got this nigga in 56. Here go his balls right here. Like, this stuff ain't that long ago. So white folks, they're grooming the other people who came behind them. Look, what why are you crying? What they fired me. Why you get fired? I was celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk. Look, don't you cry about that. Don't you cry about that. Number one, you shouldn't have done it in the first place. That's number one. You'll get another job. You still white, so don't worry about it. And that's what Charlie Kirk was trying to make sure that we had a place to put you. Now they had to fire you because you're out there in public. We got to make it look good, but we're gonna stick you somewhere else. Don't you worry about it. But what you got to do is understand whose side you on. See, the reason you're gonna get stuck somewhere else because you're gonna openly admit that you on our side. You're gonna say that was a mistake. You didn't know no better. You're gonna give a bunch of good reasons why you should have known better than to celebrate his death. But you're gonna tell folks, look, I'm moving over to this side. See, white folks use power and money to get you to believe the way they want you to believe. When what you believe is truthful, when what you believe is a good thing, a moral thing, you don't need power and money to get somebody to believe. But white folks, they're gonna use power and money to get you to think the way they want you to think. But I'm saying America is naive because number one, you thought you could get on the internet and say crazy stuff about Charlie Kirk when so many people understand that he didn't like black folks. What y'all think the people who supported him was gonna do when you got on the internet and said that? What do you think they was gonna do? And then for the people who say white supremacy is dying, okay. Because I think they showing right now that it ain't died at all. It ain't going nowhere. It don't even got tickets. It ain't moving nowhere. There's no tickets to a train for it to get on. It's right here. And the thing is, it's an ideology. You don't have to be the majority of people for the majority of people to believe in the ideology. So I know black folks want to think white supremacy going somewhere. It ain't. And Charlie Kirk's death, to me, is just people manifesting how they do agree with white supremacy and how it's really not going anywhere. And they're going to continue to use power and money to get you to think the way they want you to think. They ain't going for it at the end of the day. Why y'all think people threw money behind this man? Because they saying exactly what they want. He was saying exactly what they want said. That's why. Yeah.
And it's like he said all of this stuff, right? And now he dead. Nobody could say nothing now.
Yeah. And you know, people are saying, y'all don't woke people up, and it's gonna be, one guy said it's gonna be 10 million new Charlie Kirk's coming out. Number one, it ain't gonna be no 10 million. And the thing is, what did Charlie Kirk say that the average racist wouldn't? He's a regular run-of-the-mill white man for America.
Now, honestly though, Roger, I do think it is going to be, I'm going to say 10 million, but it's going to be a couple more come out because you got to remember too, it's a money grab thing too. Like, you know what I mean? People just trying to get these viral moments and become famous from internet and being a butthole. So I could see a lot more coming out, but I don't know now, no 10 million. You know what I mean?
You know, let me say this. I heard something, you know, on Twitter by a guy by the name of Coach Colin, and basically he said that.
Hey man, don't be throwing all them names out here like
I'm
that.
Sorry, I was thinking. I'm sorry about that, Roger. It's morning. Okay, I haven't drank my
people ain't paid no fee to advertise for them.
Okay.
But go ahead.
But he made a very good point, saying that a lot of these people, you know, from both sides of the spectrum are getting paid by billionaires, you know, for their causes and for their own and a way to make money and everything else. This is the new way to make money by keeping the spectrum divided, keep them fighting, keep them to go ahead and do violence among one another and everything else. That's what they're trying. That's what they're doing. They're making money by doing this type of stuff. They're doing a lot of this, what you call racial pandering and everything else. That makes a lot of money as well too. They'll even hire some black folks to go up there and become coons to do some of that stuff too.
Well, I'm gonna say when it comes down to it, Charlie Kirk sound like a regular white American to me. There wasn't nothing he was saying that I think, you know, the everyday average white American that I happen to come across, whether we talk about racial issues, politics or not, ain't thinking that same stuff. They ain't never liked us. And I don't even understand why black folks think that they ever did. People will say stuff, crazy stuff like, y'all are dividing the country. How? They ain't never like this. Ever. This y'all may be able to say this about other countries and other time periods and things like, but in American history, white folks ain't never like us. There wasn't one day in American history that the majority of white folks like black people. Point blank period. That day ain't never came. So I don't even see why people think we're getting divided or he was just being a regular white American. That's all. He was just out front with it, but he was just a regular white American. That's it. He had the mic, but he's a regular white American man. Simple as that. But let me get SOS, the interpreter, in here because he didn't came up. You have the floor, my brother. How you doing?
I'm doing good, brother. Good morning to you and the panel.
Good morning. Good morning.
As I said to you before, my thing is about interpreting these things. And when you look at this guy, his name is Charlie. Charlie means the charter of lies. His last name is Kirk, and Kirk means church. This guy was a curated so-called prophet of white supremacy. If you take where he died also, Utah, UT, Ut, is an ancient name for Germany, meaning Deutschland. And AH means a prophet, just like you see in Jeremiah, Jonah, prophet John. Utah means the prophet of Deutschland, the prophet of Germany. And this guy, if you just look at his name, the Church of the Lion Charter. He died exactly where he's supposed to die, because this whole thing is the beginning and the death of white supremacy. We are going in what you call separating you're separating the sheep from the goat. Okay, white people is not us that's going to have to do it. They are.
Oh, he got knocked off. He got knocked off. It wasn't me, y'all. He got knocked off.
Boy came in with that fire.
Yeah.
Debunking. That was it right there.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm gonna say this: when have white people ever not killed white people who they believe is a problem? What have they ever not done that? And he's back, y'all. He's back. There you go. There you go.
Yeah, sorry about that, brother. I got disconnected. But it's a point for white people themselves is going to have to make a distinction among themselves to see which side of the fence they're on, if they are going to be for true cooperation or, as their system is based on, cooperation, a system of debt. It's either it's going to be for life or death, but this is something that they are going to have to do by themselves.
And I'm gonna say that I think no, and I'm saying y'all, people were naive on both sides of this. There's white people who got fired because they said something thinking that it's okay, I'm white, I'm entitled, I can do what I want. But you said something negative towards somebody who was enthralled with negativity. But you think the people who run the show per se, you think they was gonna be cool with that? Well, if you work for the insurance company, you think the owners of the insurance company is okay with you talking bad about Charlie Kirk with the stuff he said? You think they was okay with that? I mean, come on. I think that shows that, you know, the younger white folks were naive. For the black folks, if you think that somebody had a reason to be against you in this country, it shows we naive. I think this death shows naivety from both sides of the fence. Bunch of naive folks out here at the end of the day. Charlie ain't gonna never be that big. They're trying to use his death to kind of prop him up. But you can do that when people die. You can try to make them seem bigger than what they was. I just don't think it's gonna actually work at the end of the day. He just wasn't. He hadn't hit it like that yet.
Well, you know who really got a wake up call? All of them teachers that's getting in trouble.
Well, you know, there's been a few incidents about folks who done got in trouble over saying something about Charlie Kirk. And that's why my mindset is, what made y'all think it was going to be, that you was going to be able to say that and something wasn't going to really happen to you? Even if I wanted to celebrate Charlie Kirk's death, I wouldn't have done it publicly. And that's real talk. If I wanted to. Now, I don't want to because I don't care nothing about dude at the end of the day. I told y'all I heard him years ago saying what he was on. I made a determination. For me, he kind of slow. He kind of stupid. And I didn't want to hear him. Now, some people, we like seeing stupid stuff. And I'm not saying I don't like seeing stupid stuff, but I like seeing stupid stuff in like a comedy situation, not a real person just being an idiot. And that's what I took him as. He's a real person being an idiot. And he don't like black people on top of it. So now you gave me multiple reasons not to be interested in you. And I just simply turned them off. And I know that's something that's hard for other folks that you just can't turn off people. Well, it's easy when I understand there'll be some people who don't like me and they gonna keep watching me anyway. And that's because I tell the truth. And truth is compelling to people, whether you like it or not. Charlie out here saying stuff that don't even make sense. So it was easy for me to turn him off. So I would have never assassinated the man because he just saying stuff I don't agree with or because he's saying stuff stupid. I mean, he does have a right to be an idiot. And that's what people don't get in this country. In this country, you got a right to be a dummy. It is actually your right. As long as you're not messing up other people's stuff, as long as you're not hurting somebody else, you do have a right to be an idiot. And I leave a lot of white folks I've seen that ain't so bright. I let them be. You know, I tell y'all there's content creators that I would never listen to because I done heard too much foolishness from them in very short periods of time that y'all would talk about or say something about whatever the case is. My thing is y'all listen to who y'all want to at the end of the day. If I got to tell you to stop listening, you're just not there yet. That's all. That's just how I look at it. And I'm not trying to say I'm better than everybody else because there's people who look at me probably come up with the same conclusion. Like, no, Roger don't get it yet. Maybe you do believe that. But I shouldn't have to tell y'all who y'all should buy into and who y'all shouldn't buy into. I just don't think that's my job. Okay? I give my reasoning and then y'all do with that what y'all want to. Now, if this is my kids, it'll be more of a this who y'all really should buy into versus who you really shouldn't. It'll be more serious to me then. But I do respect everybody to be the type of adult they want to be. Even somebody like Charlie Kirk. I still respect the fact that he was an adult man. He can take whatever position he wants to, even if his position sounds stupid. That's why I get, okay, he did go around to different colleges debating people that only had so much information. He already read their social studies book. See, he talk about social issues. He graduated social studies too. So he already know what they've been taught. So who was going to have an advantage? He was, automatically. And like I said, I do understand that critical thinking is something that, as far as I can tell, schools have been pursuing less and less and less. So young folks don't even understand how to process information the way some older folks do. And to me, it makes sense because if I was rocking with the powers that be, do I want people to challenge me or do I want people to come work for me? Truth be told, you want people to come work for you. So there's only so much critical thinking you even want out there. Because critical thinking will eventually lead to somebody saying, I may be able to compete with you, but I also may be able to destroy you and just take over. That's what critical thinkers do. It just is what it is. It's a regular thing amongst people that compete with each other. You know, there was other companies running a lot of stuff before. There's big name companies out here now. There was a lot of people doing stuff before these big name companies was as what's the word I'm looking before they had the name recognition they have now. I'll just say that. Okay. Shout out to Black Uru Strikes. He says Charlie was a junior college dropout. He was an idiot with talking points. Shout out to Black Uru for seeing the same thing I saw. I'm gonna say that, y'all. Now I didn't know until a day or two. The other day somebody said that he was a college dropout. I didn't even know that. He just sounded like an idiot to me. One thing that I was taught as a child, and I was specifically taught this as a child: don't spend a lot of your time listening to idiots.
Hey, Roger, another thing about Charlie Cook, he also applied to go to the United States Military Academy because he wanted to follow in his footsteps into what his grandfather used to do. He was in the military. When he got rejected, that's when everything started to unravel for him. Okay. He went to junior college. He dropped out and everything else. And his parents were very wealthy and everything else, provided him along with other, because they had ties to Republican donors. They're the ones that started this movement, Turning Point group and everything else. That's how he got his money. That's how he got his wealth. He got it from his family and from wealthy donors from the Koch brothers, Onward, and other far right, billionaire people.
Well, my thing is, he talking what white people won't say it. The money was gonna come. It's that simple. The one thing you can do, unless you just trash, because there's some content creators who gonna say, well, you know what? It didn't happen for me like that. Well, you probably trash. But if you talk bad about black men on a regular basis, you're gonna get paid. You gotta you kind of suck at the end of the day as a content creator if you're talking bad about black men and people ain't throwing money your way. You probably just a trash content creator. Now, I'm not saying that to hurt your feelings. I'm just saying that so you'll understand the world that you live in. Because if you were any good, they just throw some money behind you. That's what they do on a regular basis. So you probably trash. Maybe you need to talk about something else or just go into something different. Maybe that's what you'd be better off. I mean, you probably didn't find your lane by trying to be a content creator. Because if you talk bad about black men, they like to see you get paid. Okay, real talk. Because they're trying to make you an example to other people to also talk bad about black men at the end of the day. It seems to be no shortage of money for people talking bad about black men. That's why I got to say you probably just trash if you're not getting paid. But when it comes down to it, what's so different about Charlie? Was he saying something that y'all really believe the average white man don't think like Charlie? Is it because I didn't hear him say stuff. I mean, people use the word radical. Radical is supposed to mean something that's extremely different, not something extremely the same. What do y'all think white people tell their kids at the dinner table? What y'all think white people tell their grandkids at the dinner table? What's the percentage of messaging your granddaddy gave you versus the percentage of messaging that your granddaddy gave your mom or dad, and then they pass that down to you? Y'all really think it's all that different? Y'all think people who was lynching people told their children and their grandchildren, and maybe some great grandchildren, that they was wrong about what they was doing and what they was feeling? Y'all really think the people who was burning black folks' property down told their kids that black folks are lovely people? You think they regret it? Do y'all think anybody who never got convicted of a crime, that burned down black neighborhoods, burned down black towns, participated in the killings of random black men, y'all really think they regretted that stuff? You think they ain't told their kids or their grandkids nothing about what they did? I find that a little hard to believe. Because people do the stuff they proud of. And people tell the stories they proud of. Y'all, a lot of the stuff that was happening just wasn't that long ago. I mean, I get it. You look at history from a certain perspective, and you think like it's a long, long, long time ago. Emmett Till got killed in 1955, y'all. Nobody you messed with was alive and doing well in 1955.
Shoot, that wasn't. You know what? How many years did that? That was over 60 years. That's not that long ago.
What I'm saying is, what happened to Emmett Till was about the culture of that time. This is 1955. Who was alive in 1955? Was it your great, 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 great granddaddy? or was it just your granddad? Because your granddad got a big impact on you 9 times out of 10. Because your granddad gave it to your parents, and your parents gave it to you. Okay. Shout out to Chaos Rain. My bad. Correction. He said it happened in 1954. Okay, so the Emmett Till thing might have happened the year before in 1954. But what I'm saying is, y'all, this ain't that long ago. Okay. The people that you learn from were the people who participated in the stuff. See, a lot of people, we think about a black town who got let's say a town that got burned down. The most famous ones are Tulsa and Rosewood, because they done did the movie about Rosewood and all that. A lot of black towns were destroyed, y'all. Again, I found something on 100 black cities that were put underwater. Okay, 100 black cities, and what we don't think about is who actually drowned those cities. Who actually put them cities? Them people still alive. It wasn't that long ago. Them people still alive. It wasn't 100 years ago where now you could say, well, most of them probably dead now. Them folks still alive. Them folks had a big impact on their child. They had a big impact on what their child told their child, which will make them their grandkids. And those people, if they're in the older group, they had a big impact on what's being told to their grandchildren or their great-grandchildren. So when y'all see this whole thing about, okay, well, these people celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk, even if they white and you fired, that's because they not trying to change how the system works. They telling these white kids, look, you little dummy. If we didn't do this stuff, we wouldn't be in power right now. You're over here trying to just take a black person's side. I'm trying to put you in power. Now, y'all can say, well, it's some white person who's going to say, well, they ain't going to buy into that. Okay, cool. And I'm not going to even argue that. Because I will say it's some good white people out there. You got to look for them. You can find a good white person out there. But at the end of the day, power and money influences a lot of folk. And a lot of folks don't care about where their moral center is once you start talking about power and money. That ain't just a black person thing. That's a regular people thing. You talk about power and money, a lot of folks have changed what they talking about. And that's just keeping it real. So that's why I say America's naive. We as black folks thought we got somewhere. Charlie Kirk gets killed and now the HBCUs is getting threatened. Now, my whole thing is the bomb threats happened so quickly, I knew it was pretty much nonsense. I'm not tripping about people taking precautions. I knew it was nonsense because it was that quick. I know we as black people like to believe that white folks is that organized, but they're not. Generally, they're not. Okay? It would have been a smart thing to do to bomb an HBCU right after Charlie Kirk got killed. But white folks ain't organized like that. I know we give them a whole lot of credit for being, quote unquote, so organized. They not that organized. And we act like the regular white person is like a person who's really running the show. Now, I'm pretty sure all of us came to a conclusion when the news was announced that Charlie Kirk was assassinated that some white guy did. Don't mean he was the smartest white guy. We just know he was a good shot. Now, the guy that's in custody right now, which I ain't even started to talk about him yet, because at the end of the day, first of all, you got to see what's going to really stick. And was he the actual guy that did it? Or was he just a fall guy? We don't know. Okay? We don't know. And I'm going to say, look, the guy's parents, according to the story, his parents made him turn himself in. All that police work. Now, I'm not going to say they wasn't going to eventually catch him. I'm not going to say that. But all that police work, right? Didn't do nothing. didn't do nothing. I actually had already came to the conclusion that it wasn't going to be much of a search. That was the conclusion I came with. Like, they ain't finna catch dude. He out of there. Now, maybe it was him, but his daddy made him turn himself in. Okay? And I honestly believe if his daddy didn't do it, he was good. You know? Wasn't nothing gonna happen at the end of the day. Only because his daddy said, no, boy, you got to go, you gotta go talk to them people that they even have a person who's right now being talked about as the killer. You know, now could it be a bait and switch? I don't know. You know, it really depends on how much shooting and training this guy has been through for me to believe that it was actually him. Because I'm not gonna say it wasn't no bait and switch. Just don't know right now. So I'm accepting, you know, until further knows that is the actual killer. But at the end of the day, who caught him? His daddy caught him. He was forced to turn himself in. You know, not because of great police work, not because of great FBI work. I'm not saying they may not have eventually caught the guy, but I personally believe that they had made a decision that he's not supposed to be caught. That's just my personal belief. But let me turn the floor over to our guest. We have Chuck got juice is here. So you have the floor, my brother. You have the floor.
Salute to you, Roger, and a shout out to the people on the panel. Shout out to the people in the chat. And you know, I mean, I don't know much about Charlie Kirk. He's not important on this side of the pond. But what I will say, man, if niggas are getting fired, and white niggas at that, for commenting about your death, you got that LGBT power, boy, because LGBT power are quick to cancel a person. And he got that small hat power too. And it just kind of goes to show you the heart of America. Because the heart of America was with this man. People crying over him, people not taking no L's when it comes to his death. I mean, y'all think this nigga was like Kobe or something. And all this dude was doing was going around on college campuses talking bullshit. I mean, he literally is the white Dr. Umar. Right? I mean, that's how he was.
Oh, wow. Really? Dr. Umar.
This nigga is the white Dr. Umar.
That's a good point.
So at the end, I mean, without the school promise, right? I mean, hey, white people got Harvard, so they don't need another school. So at the end of the, I mean, that's all this nigga was, going around speaking at colleges to these young white people because they felt they lost their country to the women and to the Mexicans and things like that. The white Umar. So two things for Black America. I got a message. See, Terrell, I told you they don't need a school. They got Harvard, Yale, Princeton. White people cool in school, right? So two things for Black America. Are we gonna treat Dr. Umar like this in his day when his time? God forbid. Because I mean, look, niggas are showing love, so we need to show love to our people like that too. And number two, I mean, look, like this is the biggest difference on why people are on it like that. Like they have unity. This is where you see white people in unity, right? White people keep telling you about this independent shit, but where Dr. Umar got, they come together, and I pass the mic on that.
Well, if you're gonna compare him to any black doctor, I'm gonna say Dr. Umar is probably a lot more fitting than Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. That's probably a much more fitting doctor.
They talk the same shit. You just replace white people with black people. It's the same shit from what I know about them.
Yeah, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I just said that's a far better comparison because the white folks like, oh, we we got us a Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. No, you don't. No, you don't. Because number one, he just wasn't popular enough like that.
Right.
I do understand white people reacting because they're being told what some of the stuff that he stood for, and so therefore you automatically got to be on his side. Because at the end of the day,
I don't mean disrespect. Well, I'm just saying, like, look, all I'm saying is that Charlie Kirk, this nigga was the white version of Dr. Umar. That was all. That's all I'm saying.
Well, let me clarify this, y'all. I am not laughing at the death of Charlie Kirk at all. I refuse to do so. What I'm laughing at is my man put in the chat the real Dr. Umar. And he came through with, I beg your pardon. That's what I'm laughing at.
Not because, I mean, look. Dr. Umar says some real shit that most Black American residents, however you feel about the school, 60% of your message, if you're a Black American, resonates with you, right? That's Charlie Kirk. Whether you are left, right, whatever, 60% resonates with white America. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, because my thing is he is not as big as people want him to be in his death. He just ain't that big. But if you start saying some of the stuff that he stood for, you can get people to like, okay, I get it, I rock with it. And that's just what it is. And that's why I say we live in a naive America, because everybody thought that you could just talk about this white man who was willing to talk down on Black men or Black people in general, however you saw it, and that you wouldn't get fired. No, that this is white folks closing ranks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we don't talk bad about him. Do you understand what he was fighting for? He was fighting for power, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we gonna fire you. Now, if you make us a promise that you're gonna start seeing things differently, we give you another job. That ain't we that's what we do. You know what I'm saying? We give you another job. You just gotta agree to certain things. And if you even got some real feelings about such and such, well, I wasn't even thinking about it from a Black perspective. It don't make no difference. He talked about Black men.
Mm-hmm.
So regardless of what your cause was, you can't say stuff about him out loud. Say it in your dorm room. Okay? Say it at home. But don't you bring that to the internet. Don't you make no public spectacle of him. You know? Because he don't like niggas. And he was articulating a lot of good ways that other people cannot like niggas and do something to them. We need people who are crafty enough to come up with ideas, or we can avoid saying we don't like niggas and still show that we don't like niggas at the same time. And that's what Charlie Kirk was doing. You know, the truth be told, out of his own mouth, like I said the other day, he made a good case. I ain't gonna say a good case. He made a case for why not to get reparations. I could take his same words and make a great case why his children shouldn't inherit nothing from him. Because, you know, his children didn't do no work. Just like he told somebody else, well, you wasn't a slave, you didn't do the work. When your kids didn't do no work either.
Mm-hmm.
Your kids young, so they shouldn't get nothing. You did all this stuff to build up something for them, but they didn't do it. So why should they get something?
Exactly, right? Exactly. They shouldn't get jack shit.
So people say a lot of stuff out of convenience and trying to stroke your ego sometimes. It's just trying to make you feel a certain way. But the dude was saying stuff that when you examine the stuff he said a lot of stuff that didn't make no sense. So you good with people inheriting something, but if it happened, you know, such a long time ago, then it should just never be corrected. Okay.
Well, I mean, but the point is though, Roger, like, it's whether it makes sense or not, it resonates, right? It resonates. And that's what that's how white people feel. White people feel that Blacks are lazy and we ain't do jack shit. And that's a long time ago. That's not on me. Cry me a river and get over it. That's how they feel about it. At the end of the day, whether it makes sense or not, don't care. But their sentiment with reparation is, it ain't had nothing to do with me, nigga. You weren't alive either. You ain't do jack shit. So just cry a river and get over it.
Well, you know what? And that's why I say he regular.
Yeah.
Because if y'all really believe that the average white person don't agree with a whole lot of what Charlie Kirk was saying, I'm going to say you're crazy. That's real talk. Because this is the thing. Black people done had to fight to get white people to calm down. They never agreed to liking. It took us joining a war to get out of slavery in the first place. That's how serious slavery was to them. They was willing to die to keep it. You know, a lot of people don't really think about that. They were willing to die in order to keep them a nigga.
They were willing to kill another white person to keep a nigga.
And that's real talk. Now you can say however you want. They was willing to die to kill they were willing to kill their cousins of trying to keep niggas as property. Yeah, we stay up north. They stay in the south.
I can't blame them. Shit. Free labor, good pussy. Shit.
Yeah.
So basically, it was no length that they were not willing to go, so they can keep them some niggas.
Yep. That's heaven. That was heaven. Free labor and good coochie. That's like one step away from heaven.
And do what you want to do, you know, with black women.
Yeah.
Back then.
That's how serious it was to them. Now, slavery did come to its official end in 1865. And I say official because it's still legal as long as you've been convicted of a crime. So what did they do? They just started changing up the criminal justice system to make sure we get all these niggas, and we're gonna lock these niggas up so we can do whatever we want to them and get as much work as we want with them, and nobody can trip. You know, now they'll throw niggas pennies just to say it ain't quote unquote slave labor. But do y'all know it's companies that have their materials that come out of prisons? They literally have prisoners.
McDonald's, Starbucks, AT&T.
Well, I don't know all the companies offhand, so I ain't gonna go into the list of them, and I don't want nobody suing the Roger Report Live. But
no, for sure, McDonald's and Starbucks for sure, because I did a report on this for sure. Starbucks, AT&T, and McDonald's for sure.
But I do know there's many companies who work with prisons, so they can basically get slave labor, and then they'll throw them some pennies to say, well, it's not quite slavery because we paid them some. How are you paying somebody less than minimum wage and then go say you paid them something? And then a lot of times you'll try to get, you know what I'm saying? You try to stack up the money like, well, they'll have something to use when they get out of prison. So I got to work for 10 years so I can have a decent check for when I get out. But we're not going to call that slave labor at all.
We slave wages, Roger. You know, it's an increase. Slave wages, brother. We're improving.
So that's why they need niggas in prison, and they don't care about whether you did the crime or not. No, they just need a nigga in prison because I can't make money off private prisons if I don't have niggas to pay them little to nothing. Because if I gotta really pay somebody, I wouldn't be contracting with a private prison. I'd be getting manufactured done. Just like every other company gets manufacturing done. But we got these niggas right here. And if we can play these niggas basically nothing, hey, as long as my bottom line gonna be all right, I'm with it. So Charlie Kirk just ain't that far off from the average white man in America as far as I can tell. I'll say that. Y'all, because you know, people can debate what is and what ain't. As far as I can tell, Charlie Kirk is not that far off from the regular old everyday white man. And as a regular old everyday white man, if you ask me, Rod, do you really think we that bad? No, yeah, I do. I absolutely. I absolutely do. You know? Now, I love y'all because God requires me to love everybody. So I ain't going to never not love white people. I have to do certain things just to even be a godly person. And as a person who's trying to be a better Christian, you know, I got to do certain stuff for them. But me having to do something for you does not make me think you like me. It's that simple at the end of the day. I can save your life. That don't mean you like me. And if y'all say, well, you don't think that'll change their mind? Not really. Because white people are already used to black people being in service to them. So no, I don't really think it's going to change their mind. And truth be told, I wouldn't stick around and even find out. But we got Kevin 3905 who done joined us, so let me let him get the mic. You got it, my brother.
What's up, fellas? I just wanted to add some information. Um, Back in 1999, from 1999 to 2005, I was a corrections officer for what was known as Wackenhut. The company is now known as GEO. I worked in South Florida at a prison. We had a Chrysler um, building made on the prison that made catalytic converters. So they were bringing the old ones and we would refurbish them. The inmates worked for 8 cents an hour to start, and I think the top pay was 14 cents an hour, if I remember correctly. So it is true that these prisons are manufacturing things and selling them on the open market for these large companies. That plant originally was supposed to be for Harley Davidson, but the deal fell through. But Chrysler picked up on it, and as far as I know, they're still making parts.
So you work an 8 hour a day. Man, is that even a dollar? Was that just over $1
Six,
or 14 cents?
64 cents a day per day.
That's for the people on the low end. But for the people on the high end, you might just be clearing $1.
Yeah, and they take taxes out of their money.
Damn.
Golly.
That's cold. That's cold. That is cold.
Yeah, that's rough right there. That's rough.
They on a W-2, and things in prison and the commissary are much more expensive than they are out here in the open world. It's insanity, bro. You're literally working for pennies a day, literally.
While being super overcharged for anything that you buy.
Yeah, see, I didn't want you to be responsible for having told that truth, so I wanted to tell it for you, so you can say, hey, I didn't say it. Kevin 3905 said he responsible. Go shut his channel down.
I appreciate it, bro. I appreciate it. But the thing is, this stuff has to be known, and everybody needs to know that, because white folks get this presentation that we ain't racist like that. Now, let's think about it. In the criminal justice system, you get black men for crimes they didn't commit, okay? Whether they committed the crime or not, especially if they didn't commit the crime, you got to pay a lot of money into the legal system to keep yourself out of prison because they always got a plea deal for you. You know what I'm saying? White folks ain't never not got a plea deal for you. So we can get you to agree to a couple things here and there. One time we get you, now we got you for this is you got priors now. Now remember, you just agreed because you didn't want to deal with it. But now you got priors when they get you some other nonsense that you didn't do. You see how that works? And now because you got priors, you're gonna have to end up doing some time. See how easy that work out? Or you pay to keep yourself out. So they win no matter what. Remember, if you're not convicted of a crime, nobody gives you a refund. Think about that. The lawyer who kept you out was just doing his job. So you're gonna spend all type of money in that situation. Now, if they convict you, you can hope for 14 cents an hour. You can hope for that. Because you don't even get that through the door. But you can hope to work hard enough so you can get up to 14 cents an hour. That sounds crazy, y'all.
Yep. I don't know how they work around the federal wage laws. I think it's because
you're legally a slave.
They consider you property of the state when you're an inmate.
So you can do that to a slave.
Yeah.
A slave has been property of plenty of companies in the past. So I think even with that, I think sometimes we're overcomplicated just trying to figure out how they can get away with this or that. No, it's legal that you're a slave. As long as you've been convicted of a crime, you can be made a slave. Nobody has to figure anything out. We don't have to figure out what's right, what's wrong. is this cool or not? Because they could just classify you as a slave, and now ain't nothing you can say.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure they do whenever it's convenient.
Yeah, so this is not something I heard. This is something I seen. This is a job that I had. These are some inmates that I supervised. I saw the process from beginning to end. I saw it. I was there. So there you go.
Now, y'all think the average white man don't like the prison system being in place? So what makes Charlie so different? That's all I'm saying. What makes Charlie so different? You know, he was white. He was American. He clearly was entitled to the way he talked. He definitely had a lot of arrogance in the way he talked. So what makes him so different than all these other normal white people walking around?
Well, I mean, what makes him different, same thing. Like he said what white people want to say, but too scared to say it.
And what makes him so different too, Roger, was that he's young. And he could go up there and reach out to the young, naive person and everything else. He'd go through college campuses around the United States and go after them and everything else and indoctrinate them into his beliefs and everything else.
Yeah.
Well, my thing is this stuff is taught to kids when they're young. White households teach this stuff to their children when they're young. And his job is to get the people that didn't get it. The white kids who, for whatever reason, it wasn't taught in their school, his job is to bring them over.
Well, that's why he's beloved, because he can do stuff that the normal white person, like like Tim Cook of Apple can't say this, right? Not saying that he believes that, it doesn't matter, but you know what I mean. Like prominent people who got jobs or living paycheck to paycheck, they can't go around saying this stuff. So that's why he's beloved, because he's doing in their eyes the Lord's work.
Yeah,
and that's why he's beloved.
Yeah, and they'll throw that Bible in there like they're not using the slave Bible.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, like that's why, I mean, same thing for Dr. Umar, right? Like Dr. Umar talking about this and that, and you know what I mean? He said a lot of stuff that black people can't really say no more.
Yeah. So the thing is, that's what I'm saying. America's having a naive reaction for the people who can't believe this stuff is going on. You know, when you talking bad about Charlie Kirk and you shocked that you got fired, I think you were very, very much naive. Okay, who you think white folks gonna ride out for at the end of the day? It ain't like Charlie Kirk the only kind of white person that gets killed. There are white people who are quote unquote innocent. People that said something foul about them. You don't see nobody getting fired. It's people that have came out and said they don't even believe in Sandy Hook, I think was the name of that school where the shooting happened. It's people that said they don't even believe that happened. They didn't get fired.
No. What you call? He got in big trouble for that. Alex Jones.
It was like one person got in trouble.
A lot. I mean, public people. I mean, the average person. But anyone who has a public audience, they got repercussions for that. There's a couple people who talked about it, they got in trouble for that. But if you're just like the guy on the street, nothing's gonna happen to you.
They are literally digging through people's social media right now to see if you said something bad about Charlie Kirk or not.
Yeah, well, I mean, but this is a bigger thing than Sandy Hook, right? This is bigger.
One guy got killed when Charlie Kirk got killed. At Sandy Hook, multiple people got killed. So how is it?
But to white people, this is more important than Sandy Hook.
Well, my thing is, you could say two white people, but when it come down to it, Sandy Hook was bigger because multiple people got killed.
Not in the eyes of white people. Not in the eyes of white people.
See, I don't know how white people count, because at the end of the day, Sandy Hook, multiple children were killed. Not even just people. Children got killed at Sandy Hook.
I'm not saying that white, because it was white children at that. I'm not saying white people didn't look at that as that's a bad thing, but this is worse than that. But both things are bad.
No, they are both bad, and I'm kind of messing with you a little bit because the whole thing is that they look at both of them as bad, but it's why is it worse when it came to Charlie Kirk? Why is it
Because
seen as
Charlie
worse?
Kirk is the guy that's going to usher in the new generation.
Yeah, Charlie Kirk is the guy that will say, "Screw them niggas. They don't really know anything."
Right.
You know, we're superior to them.
Right.
You know, they keep begging for stuff from us. Like the man would literally say, "They're blacks beg. You can help them out better." Now, my thing is, truth be told, no, black people don't need to be begging nothing from anybody. But when you talk about stuff like civil rights, dude, that's not begging at the end of the day. That ain't begging at all.
Well, all I'm going to say, if we look at the history, right? White people are willing to kill other white people to disenfranchise black people. So at the end of the day, if you have two horrible events, but one event was, let's subjugate these niggas again, white people gonna feel a lot worse about that.
Now I can agree with that. Shout out to Black Rule Strikes. He said the Yankees had a moment of silence for that clown. He was very much a part of the big picture of white supremacist America.
Absolutely.
And I'm saying, yes, that's why is seen as a bigger deal. Because if you follow the stuff white people say, and then you start watching what they actually do, you can see where hating niggas is always more important than everything else they talking about.
Absolutely.
Which is why I kind of compared Sandy Hook to this. Because, yeah, people is really facing consequences over this. It's incredible that you got agencies talking about, I forget which agency, but I seen like the head of the agency saying, we're going to go through all your stuff to see if you celebrated the death of Charlie Cook. And if we find out you about to have trouble.
You know what it was? He was like the white people whisperer. And if you look at how old he is, he was basically what they want their 31-year-old children to be like. You know what I mean? Like the average 30-year-old white boy probably listening to rap. You know what I mean? He probably wearing Jordans, and you know what I mean?
This nigga was their Michael Jordan.
Yeah, he
this
was.
Nigga was their Michael Jordan.
He's what they want their kids to be like, and type of thing. Because remember, he got shot by a young white kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. And truth be told, now I don't know nothing about the father, but it might have something to do with why the father made him turn. He might be disappointed in his son you would think, okay, well, his son killed somebody. Sure, he should be disappointed in him. But why is he disappointed in him? Is he disappointed because he killed a man like Charlie Kirk? Or is he disappointed because he killed a man in general? Those are two different things.
Hey, hey.
Why would you kill Charlie?
Yeah.
You know, that's what I'm saying. Why would you kill Charlie? That could very much be his attitude. I don't know because I didn't check into it, but I'm just saying that could be his attitude. Why would you kill him? If you had to kill somebody, why didn't you kill a nigga?
Exactly. That's how the conversation went, Roger. Dad, I'm a little bit in trouble. I think I shot. I didn't know it was gonna be this big. And like, what you do? I capped this dude. And who do you cap? Oh my God, you did what? I love you, son, but you got to turn yourself in.
Yeah. I had a whole career with these people because I think they say he was a former cop or something too. His dad.
Yeah. Because because it's like, you know what I mean. You done shot the homie, right? You done shot the homie. You wasn't supposed to shoot the homie. You supposed to kill the niggas over there.
Look, son, you done put me in a position. I'm gonna have to turn you in because if I don't turn you in, I'm gonna look like I was cool with this at the end of the day. And I can't piss off it. I'm already retired. I can't go through no changes and then messing with me right now. Now, had you shot a nigga, we'd have protected you.
Exactly.
Now, I'm not saying this would happen. I'm saying this very much could have happened.
Even if you just shot any other white person,
any other white person. Any other white person.
Any other white person. Yeah.
But you shot this cracker.
Yeah.
There's a difference. There's a difference between dead people and martyrs. There's a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He made that man a martyr. Sandy Hooks, just some dead people.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Cause yeah, if he would have, he probably father probably said, "Why don't you do what everybody else does? Go, go shoot up a school or something. Are you crazy?
Or go shoot up, or go find yourself and shoot yourself a Negro and everything else.
Yeah, do
And
what normal
justify
white
it.
boys do. You know,
I can protect you from a lot of stuff, son. I got connections, but I can't protect you from this.
They was like, all them niggas on the Roger Report live show, and you choose Charlie Kirk to shoot? What the fuck?
That nigga.
You shot Trump's homeboy. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, and you know that's what I'm saying, y'all. There is some naivety going on with Americans, because to think that was gonna be okay, I think you're kind of crazy. Now I understand white people gonna try to make the man a martyr. I just don't think he had enough pull, and he was big enough. And you do seem bigger right when you die. You know, if you a music artist, they play all your music once you die. You know what I'm saying? You might get a good 24 hours of being at the top of everybody's charts once you die. They make you bigger when you die. That's just a normal thing. I just don't think he was big enough that even if they trying to make him bigger, it's going to create the impact that they wanted him to create. But obviously, they like where Charlie Kirk was going, because Charlie Kirk didn't run out of no money. Y'all know it's kind of expensive to be going all over the country to be talking to, even if you only going to talk to some college kids, that's expensive.
Roger, could I say something here?
Oh, go ahead. You're a little low right now, though. You're a little low.
I want you to take into consideration that in their doctrine of Christianity, they tell us that Jesus Christ was a rebel until Rome put power behind him. Today, Charlie Kirk is just an aided figure, but the empire is trying to put power behind him to transform him, just as how Rome transformed the image of the Christ. This is the same thing that is taking place here, brother.
Well, my thing is, Charlie said he was a Christian. I don't know. That's all I'm gonna say. Because I heard other stuff Charlie said. So my thing is, I didn't really see it line up like that. But they say, and I saw him say, that he's a Christian. And my thing is cool. Anybody can claim it, but at the end of the day, when you go before God, it don't make a difference what you claim. It's what you actually are. So I ain't worried about it.
No, I disagree with that, because he was already in those circles before all of this, right? He's a friend of Trump's, right? Trump on numerous occasions have talked about him, appreciated service and things like that. So he was already around. He was already rubbing elbows with the people who matter. So
well, if you take the symbology of Christ in the Bible, they tell you he was moving shoulder to shoulders with the elites. This, I'm just using it as a symbology, brother, because it is different. You might be famous until the state put its power behind you, and that is what they're trying to do right now with Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk, they're trying to use him as a prophet. Is the whole they created this guy. I'm not sure if this is even his real name, because they do these things all the time.
That's true. Yeah, who knows what his real name is? But I mean, he's been around for a while, man. I mean, I don't know if this was. I doubt this was planned. I just think some kid just had a dumb idea and did something really dumb. Now they're going to use it, right? They're going to use it to their advantage, right? Because you don't let something like this go without using it to your advantage. But I don't think this was planned.
But I just want to say this. Hold on, let me say this real quick. Then you got a chance. My thing about this, people, saying that he a Christian. All I'm gonna say is look at Jesus and look at him. Do you see anything close to the same person? That's all I'm saying. Okay, because people throw that Christian term around all the time. It's been thrown around a lot in history why people did absolutely terrible things. A Christian, an actual Christian, is someone who's trying to look like Jesus. If that's what you saw, hey, so be it. But that's what Christians are. Christians are trying to look like Jesus. Okay, they're trying to be seen as Jesus. They're trying to live the way Jesus lived. That's what Christians do. So you got to come to your own determination. But I'm just saying Christians are supposed to be trying to follow after Jesus.
That's a perception that was programmed into us, Roger. I don't think. I told you I have a book coming out. The people are never going to understand what Jesus is and what the Christ is until someone really give them a different pheromone. Just like you see with the ants and the termite, the whole world is under a pheromone, brother, that blind their eyes completely to reality. No, the Bible, if you take the word Bible actually means the brain. Every book in the Bible is talking about a different section of the brain. There is no one in the Bible who is actually a real person. If you read the Bible and you don't see yourself in the Bible, then you didn't read it.
We're getting off track now because it's not a Bible discussion.
Yeah,
because
but my point is because they are trying to use the Christianity. My thing is, y'all don't buy into everything somebody serves you. That's what I'm saying. Sometimes people gonna serve you something that ain't what you ordered in the first place. Okay, send it back. See, don't be polite and just eat it anyway. Send it back. I didn't order this. Okay.
Hey, Roger and Chuck got just what I said earlier today is that they're using this term radical left, okay, to describe this person and everything else who was the one that shot Charlie Kirk and everything else. At the same time, though, they're just trying to find a way to put black folks into this sphere though too, because sometimes they associate.
How we connected to that though? Because I don't believe that. I'm saying I disagree with you.
Okay,
how are they trying to connect us? Because I disagree with you.
Well, because there are people who are saying that this guy got influenced by black culture and all that type of stuff. That's what I'm hearing from right-wing media and everything else. This guy got influenced.
Charlie was quote unquote against black culture.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the guy. I'm talking about the shooter. That's what they're trying to
do. His background ain't even known yet, is it?
Yeah, but that's what they're making.
He's the son of a cop himself.
Yeah, but they're sitting up there making up these theories for this guy. They're just trying to find something, anything, to blame.
Well, I mean, I can understand they don't want the shooter to be seen as a regular white person because they at the end of the day they always gonna try to paint a narrative that he was different than the rest of them. But I ain't even covered him yet because I just ain't even got to him. He's just not that important at the end of the day because of what happened. I'm saying in the context of this particular episode, the shooter ain't important. I'm not even talking about what happened because of a shooter. The thing is, Charlie Kirk was shot by anybody, and Americans show how naive they are. That's what I'm saying. So it didn't make a difference who got him. Americans are showing they're naive because they're going on the internet and they're saying stupid stuff, and they're making a lot of stupid decisions. And I'm saying there's been some that have been black, and there's been some that have been white. But at the end of the day, well, a lot of us want to believe America has come a long way from racism. We ain't never stopped as a country. It never stopped. Stuff like this shows that white supremacy ain't went nowhere. There is no post-racial anything after Barack, which a lot of people try to, we made Barack a president. White people had to vote for him too. That don't mean white people ain't racist. That means white folks represented themselves so poorly that they thought they'd give a nigga a job. White people have done that historically in this country. When stuff looks terrible, you promote a nigga.
Roger,
that's history.
Roger, I want to say one thing. White supremacy didn't go anywhere because the first thing, your language is the operating system of your consciousness. And if you know about operating system, it comes in 3 versions. You have a light version, a full version, and the creator mode. The world was given the light version of their language. That's why the 5 vowel system is a construct to limit the human consciousness to the light version. The royals and the elite are using a different format of your language that gives them ability that works in the same way that a person who is using a light version of an operating system and a person who's using a full version you cannot compete with them because the language that they are using, this very same language, English, is structured in such a way to limit you and make you unable to compete with them. And as I told you, my book is coming out that is going to show you and prove to you that the construct that they're using in the language has limit your capability to make you be totally unaware of. You cannot listen. I don't want to. I'm getting ahead of myself.
No, I know what you mean. I know what you mean, brother.
Listen, I just mentioned to you something about the Bible is about the brain, brother. Brother, you have something on your face that is called a nose, N-O-S-E. Yeah, okay? They tell you use it to smell. The word smell is a compaction of two words, small and bell. Okay? Your nose is a small bell. Okay, the brain have two sides. Each side of the brain is known as a mose, M-O-S-E. When you put them together, you get Moses, and that's the cerebellum. The brain is known as the big bell, and the nose is known as the small bell. When you the word big bell is the very word that they transliterated and play with to create the word Bible. The whole Bible, I'm telling you, from Genesis to Revelation, is speaking about the consciousness of the human mind. And until they get my book to read it, to first get the code. Because if you ever hear them talk about a God called Serapis, S-E-R mean to be, and API-S is talking about the APIs to unlock the code to your consciousness, brother. Okay, because your language and this old religion system is something that is set up to limit you.
Well, this is not the topic today, bro.
It has to do with the very same structure of religion and the same structure of racism, brother. You are talking about freeing yourself from something that a person has mentally structured your mind that you cannot see what reality is. I don't know if you ever watched a movie called They Live. They Live is it's not a movie, it's a documentary. When you get the code to open your consciousness, you're going to see deeper levels of your language to reveal the very same things that I'm trying to show you. Even the name for this kid that I'm trying to tell you, Charlie Kirk, meaning the Church of the Charters of Lies. These are not by accident, brother. We're going through a transition in time that is no different from when Christianity formed under the illusion that they tell the people of Jesus Christ.
They do say name your child what you. They do tell you to name your child what you want it to be.
Small problem. And again, this is not the. I'm trying to stay on topic, so I'm a little bit surprised Roger let that go. But anyway, bro, that's not really the topic today. The topic we're talking about that there's no post-racial utopia after Obama, and Charlie Kirk, for the purpose of open my eyes to the nigger life, is that crackers still being crackers in 2025.
Yeah, and nothing's really changed about what they do, their attitudes toward us, what they're willing to do with us. And they're showing us something by making sure that other people have consequences behind laughing about Charlie Kirk's death, which I just generally don't agree with anybody celebrating somebody's death, but there ain't been no consequences behind it like this, right? They are literally digging up random white people to say, hey, you too. No, we ain't just going after no niggas. We going after you too. Why you say something bad about him? There's a lot of folks you could have said something about, but not him. And he out there trying to do what's good for good white folks. So we got to put you out of your whatever it is that you got. We got to get you out of it. You know. And
that is literally sorry. Go ahead.
Say what you were saying. Go ahead.
And that literally goes to the days of Abraham Lincoln, right? Be like, Lincoln, you tripping, nigga? Right? You tripping? Right? And if social media existed back then, whoever would have talked about abolishing slavery would have lost their job too.
Yeah, and that's why it's crazy to me that, and like I said, I don't know about the guy's father. I just look at the idea that the man supposedly saw his son getting off the roof and recognized him. That's what they saying. He saw him getting off the roof, whatever, or he saw his son's picture and recognized him. And I'm going to say, if you know a person, I'm sure you can recognize a person in a lot of different scenarios. And he made his son turn himself in.
That's diabolical right there.
Wait, so
That
the
is
son,
diabolical.
so the son admitted to his father, or the father just made him turn himself in? Because it's like
His father
Basically,
was the
his
one.
father
The father was
confronted him.
his father confronted him and everything else and turned him in. Suppose.
Yeah.
I
so
mean,
his
wasn't
father
really
was
nothing
like,
you could do. Is you look, son? I seen you. I know that was you. You either gonna tell him or I'm gonna tell him.
Yeah, because I mean, and it's just like this. Like if it was a black father, nigga, I know that wasn't you on that roof. Nigga, I know that wasn't you on that roof. My bad. All right, turn yourself in.
And,
That's how
and,
the
it,
conversation.
and I'm saying what Charlie Kirk represented to some white folks. If you think about it, they would think, yeah, you should turn yourself in. You should have never killed him, not him.
Yeah, that's
You know,
diabolical, bro. Because I mean, dang, that's diabolical. Because okay, this is very sensitive, and I apologize for anybody who this offends. But if my son killed Malcolm X or Martin Luther King, I'm not dumbing my son out, man. I don't know if I could do that.
no, but people,
I'd
this
be
shows the
upset. I would be upset. I'd be distraught. I'm like, damn, this nigga ain't shit. But I don't know if I could do that.
But this shows the fracture between white people. The son killed them, but the father likes him. So it's like
supposedly we don't know that for sure. We don't know any information about the father. We just know the father made him turn in. Because my thing is, I don't want to produce a false narrative. I'm saying we don't know, but that could very well be the case. I'm not saying you're wrong because that could be the case. We just don't know what the father's on right now. But we know the father wasn't gonna let you kill Charlie Kirk and get away with it.
No,
That's what we do.
it's not
I
really
sent you that clip
Roger.
though,
I think
Roger.
once they found the gun, it was going to lead right back to the father because I'm sure it was the father who purchased that gun. At least
Yeah.
we can
Yeah.
believe what they're saying. But once they
Exactly.
found the gun, it was over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's what happened. They found the gun, and if it's true that the father was a police officer, then he was like, "Look, man, maybe I broke a deal. We'll turn yourself in peacefully, blah blah blah," because surely it's the father's gun, right? I'm pretty sure the kid didn't buy it on his own. So I mean, maybe that's the situation where you're making the best out of a bad situation, but off rip, dumping out your son, that's diabolical.
Well, I heard that the son's like 22, if my memory's correct. So he could have got it himself, but then would he have really gotten it himself at only 22 years old? So it could have led right back to the father. That's very true. That very well that it could have led right back to the father. And I do think at 22 years old, there's a higher chance that that gun is owned by the father than the 22-year-old white kid or a white guy. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
maybe he had to tell, but the thing is, maybe he could have helped protect his son. But how do I protect you when you take down a figure like Charlie Kirk?
Well, I think if he's police, right? Maybe he got it. Maybe he got heads up from what I mean. Maybe he got heads up from someone like, "Yo, we found the gun, and it looked like stuff can come back to such and such." You know what I mean? Maybe look as a courtesy call, give you a heads up because tomorrow, right? Today we giving you courtesy call. Tomorrow we kicking in your door. Who knows, right?
What I'm gonna say, shout out to Sirius Rod. He says his son was going to delete himself. His father talked him out of it. At least that's their side of the story to get public sympathy. And I'm gonna say that's a plausible story to put out. Because at the end of the day, if the father was a police officer, which I mean he was a retired police officer according to the report. Okay. At the end of the day, your son just killed Charlie Kirk. Now the thing about Charlie Kirk, I'm saying he about the same as a lot of white guys out there nowadays, but he was a public figure at the end of the day. He was cool with what we consider the top of society. He was cool with the White House. It's not the smartest thing in the world to attack people cool with the White House. Because if they want you, they'll come get you. That's what I'm saying. If they want you, they'll come get you. Now, maybe the people right offhand, because I thought they were just gonna let dude get away at the end of the day. Because at first they was talking about they ain't have nothing on dude, and I'm sitting there like, y'all ain't got nothing, y'all ain't got no picture, y'all ain't got no camera, but y'all ain't got nothing. So when they was talking about they don't have nothing, I'm like, oh, they just gonna let dude get away, you know?
I'm curious to see. I'm curious to see what Trump's statement is going to be once he's convicted and found guilty of this. I'm very interested to see what Trump's statements is going to be on this.
Well, they might give him something somewhat like, because you know it might be a first offense or whatever, you know. But like I said, I haven't really even researched into to the gunman and what's going on with him. I just remember he's some 22-year-old white guy, and my thing is, we expected it to be a white guy. At least I've said that publicly. I expect that when they find a killer, it's just gonna be some white guy at the end of the day. And my thing is, this how white people get down with each other. Go ahead.
My thinking is that he's going to try to make a plea deal and try to get, you know, if he can get second-degree murder charge and everything else, and you get a life sentence, but you get eligible, after about 20 years, you'll take that because he's young.
Well, I mean, but I don't think it's that simple because you got to take the temperature of society. If white people feel that he's getting off easy, that's a guaranteed riot in every major city.
White people ain't gonna just say give him a slap on the wrist, because he took out a man who was saying some very negative things about black men.
Because if white people are attacking other white people and getting them canceled on their job, now the dude that actually did the thing, like, I don't know if white people are going to say he get a white pass for this. I don't know. You might,
I don't think they will, because the whole thing is about keeping white people in line with the program that they've had in place for years and years and years. You cannot maintain white supremacy without the younger folk getting pulled into it. Just is what it is. So, and shout out to Trash Band. He said all this white on white crime has me really fatigued.
It does.
Yeah. Now,
I don't.
Oh, go ahead.
Yes, I don't. I mean, I don't think he's going to get, like, you know what I mean, like Harry, like, what is it, Oswald, right? He didn't get the pass for JFK, whether he did it or not, whatever. He just didn't get that pass, right? So if white America feels that, oh, he got a pass on this, that is riots everywhere.
Okay, now I'm gonna say shout out to Blexit the Community. He says people who aren't politically involved or politically astute, i.e., the overwhelming majority of Black Americans, shouldn't even be discussing any of this because you're coming from a racist place. Blexit, if you actually think about what you just put, bro, that was racist.
Yeah.
What you said is actually racist. Think about what you wrote right there, bro. That was racist to say. You were literally saying Black people can't talk about it, and you did say most of them are not politically astute. Well, if you want to talk about the political astuteness of people, that's Americans in general.
Yeah,
Americans in general are not politically astute. So, but you specified Black Americans, as if
Black
white Americans are politically astute, because they clearly aren't, bro. We've been getting elected. The same two parties been elected for decades at this point. If you're gonna sit there and try to make any claim that Americans in general are politically astute, you're an idiot yourself. I'm just gonna say it. You're an idiot yourself. How do the only two parties get somebody to actually become president of the United States, not to mention a bunch of various other jobs, political jobs across the country, is usually a Democrat or Republican? You barely see anybody else fulfill any spot. And you're going to say people, only Black people? Because you didn't even have to put Black Americans there. You could have just left that as anybody who don't get it. But you put the Black in there because you wanted it in there.
Roger, please allow me to address this because being a Jamaican and I can see his flag here, it have the Jamaican thing in it. I want to address this. This guy have deep ignorance, and I want you to know that the ignorance runs very deep. If you take the name Jamaica, Jamaica, it means ugly and ignorant spirit. The correct name for the country was Jamal, Jamal, representing the camel. Okay, the camel means beautiful and resourceful. Okay, that when they changed the name from Jamal to Jamaica, they changed it to mean ignorant and ugly. Okay, and I want you to understand this. They took the name that was the original name for the country and put it for one of the dumbest school in Jamaica. It's a school for ignorant people known as Jamal. When you go to Jamal, they consider you as a stupid person. Okay, so they flipped the script. It's now Jamaica, ugly and ignorant. It's no longer Jamal, which means a beautiful and resourceful spirit. This is not a makeup thing. As I told you, those three islands, Cuba, Haiti, and Jamaica, represent the foundation of it's not the foundation, but it was part of a bigger country known as Trinidad, the original Trinidad and Tobago. Okay, Haiti represent the dome. Okay, it was known as Dominica. It means the brain. Cuba represent the cube. Okay, and Jamaica represent the camel. These are three things that was very instrumental and are symbol of the original faith known as Salam, not Islam. What? Salam.
Well, white folks have been playing with names and all kinds of stuff for a long time. That's something I already definitely have an understanding of. I mean, they even play with the direction of the world because they changed north to south to make, they've changed north to south. Now south is north. They play with a lot of stuff for various different reasons at the end of the day. So I do know that actually happens. But I do want to say that at the end of the day, for the statement that Blex has made was an extremely racist statement that wasn't even necessary to put Black Americans in. So that only tells me he thinks Black Americans who are not politically astute shouldn't talk about this. But if they're white Americans and they're not politically astute, it's fine for them to talk about it. That's why it was a racist statement.
Yeah, it's a very ugly and ignorant statement, brother. If you look at the competition between Black Americans and Jamaican when it comes to running, it's not by accident that these two group of people are the fastest people on the earth, brother. We were one kingdom in ancient times.
Well, I'm not going to even say he's being ignorant because ignorant, based on definitions, means lack of knowledge. I don't think he said that due to a lack of knowledge. I think he said exactly what he wanted to say because of what he chooses to believe. He believes white people are superior to Black people. And I'm saying based on what I know about Blessed the community. Now, he's fine to be over here at the end of the day. I'm never going to trip about you coming. Heck, you can join a panel sometime. But I do believe Blessed the community believes white people are superior to Black people. And that's why he said what he said, because it wasn't even necessary to put Black people in that one. He could have said that exact same thing without specifying any group of people. And again, you can't say the average American is politically astute when the average person being elected to hold any political seat is a Democrat or a Republican. When you only get two options that really hold seats, you can't say the average American is politically astute because that don't make sense. Especially when you have at least 6 parties plus independents. So you should have no less than 7 choices. Just keeping it real. Now I think Charlie is just a different type of dude because they want him to be just as important as people who came before him, but Charlie didn't necessarily live that lifestyle. Charlie was his belief systems are a doozy when you think about some of the stuff that he says, but to me, he's always come off as a stupid white man. But a stupid white man don't stop you from being listened to. Being a stupid white man doesn't mean that other people won't make you be important. Being a stupid white man is regular in this country. Now, I do want to say shout out to to my main man, Kevin 3905, who did send a cash app in today. He said, unsupervised Negroes telling the truth. Well, you know what? That's exactly what the goal is for my channel. That's exactly what the goal is for unsupervised Negroes to come up here and tell the truth. And that's real talk. For whoever don't get it, y'all, that's exactly what I want here. I want unsupervised Negroes telling the truth. Now, if you're a supervised Negro and you can't shake it, I ain't gonna insist that you come. But if you can see yourself as unsupervised and you can speak freely, then yeah, I want you to come give your opinion. And y'all, my channel will be a bastion, as they say, for critical thinking. I do want people who can think critically to come share their opinions whenever they see fit. Okay. And I'm gonna say shout out to Champ Car for Life. Champ Car for Life. Bro, you always talk about you gonna land your plane when we about to end the show. It's only a 3-hour show, bro. We had 2 hours and 54 minutes, so yeah, the show is finna come to a close. That's a for sure thing. And shout out to everybody who came up that done dipped off. So everybody who came up, shout out to y'all. But I do want to us to say that white supremacy ain't going nowhere right now, y'all. I want y'all to really have an understanding. It's just an ideology. It's a harder thing to kill off than the people, because ideas can last beyond people. Okay, I say that again. Ideas can last beyond people. It is harder to kill an idea than it is a person. You can kill a person. I mean, Charlie Kirk was assassinated. His ideas are going to go on for at least a little while. But truth be told, his ideas are probably going for a long time because he agrees with a bunch of other white supremacist stuff that I've already heard before. This stuff was being said before he was born. If we want to be real about it. Certain stuff that he said was being said before he was born. But people like to keep up confusion. People like to keep up mess. Okay? And, he has this, it seems that he pushed this idea as if black folks want to hang out with white people like that. No. Black folks never fought against segregation. Okay? I don't remember nothing that I learned from civil rights movement or anything where black people were truly fighting segregation. Black people wanted to be treated the way they were supposed to be treated according to America's promise to Americans. And I think a lot of people miss that every time it's talked about. Black people wanted what America promised to Americans. Black people had became Americans. See, you could say I wasn't an American if you were a slave. You would technically be right because you were property up until that point. But after slavery came to this official end, I gotta say official because it ain't like it ever really ended. Today you can still be a slave if you're convicted of a crime. And that's why you have a lot of companies who go to work with prisons. And they'll tell you on the outside that we don't want to give you no job because you was in prison. You can work for them in prison. You just can't work for them when you get out of prison. Ain't that about nothing, y'all? See, as long as you in prison, we can pay you anything less than minimum wage. I can rock with you. But now that you out of prison and I have to pay you minimum wage, now I don't want you working for me. But I've been working for you. No. In prison, that's one thing. I don't mind paying you less than minimum wage. But if you want me to pay you minimum wage, that's a problem for me. I'm not comfortable with that. Okay? That's how that game go, y'all. There's games they play all the time. As people I hear that the new thing is saying they be playing in our faces. Well, they still playing in your face. That ain't changed. That ain't changed at all. They find new ways to play with you, but the thing is, you're still getting played with. Okay, you're still getting played with. Now, Charlie Kirk is what's referred to as a good white man, y'all. Now, I do want y'all to understand. I mean, even the president said this, okay? And a lot of other people have said it. Charlie Kirk is still considered a good white man. Now, I want y'all to look in y'all heart and say, I can understand people say, well, I don't agree with his politics, but still we have to celebrate his death. I get that. Because I ain't going to never celebrate the man's death. It's just not going to happen with me. Now, I'm not celebrating anybody's death. But there's people who say, well, whether you disagree with him or not, he still was a good white man. So as long as you hate niggas, when you die, they consider you still a good white man. Okay? Not much is required, y'all. All you got to do is just hate niggas. All right? Well, he still was a good white man. Even if you don't agree with him, well, I don't agree with a man that hates niggas. Are you talking about that? Or are you talking about something else? Well, he still was a good white man. Because you can hate niggas and still be a good white man. And truth be told, if you pay attention to how this country truly operates, if you hate niggas, that's what makes you a good white man. And I think a lot of us somehow forgot that. That's according to how what white people do. Not my personal opinion, but white people show you if you hate niggas, you can be considered a good white man. But if you don't hate niggas, not so much. Not so much. I still wouldn't celebrate his death. I don't recommend anybody do that. He still was a person. At the end of the day, I ain't gonna never celebrate nobody. I won't even celebrate Blex's death. Eventually that'll come. Blessing, I'd never celebrate your death. Just in case you go before me. Okay? Which is probably gonna be the case, but I say that to everybody because I expect to outlive everybody. But in case you go before me, I would never celebrate your death, regardless of whether I disagree with you or not. Point blank, period. I wouldn't do it to Charlie Kirk. I wouldn't do it to anybody. I just don't see that as a good thing to do. I don't think God would want me to celebrate somebody's death, especially if for some reason you would think they didn't make it into the kingdom. And the people who are celebrating Charlie Kirk's death don't believe he made it into heaven. I'm not saying he did, but they definitely don't believe that. So you would literally celebrate a person going to hell? And I get it. Everybody don't have Christian beliefs. Y'all may believe something else. But you gonna believe he got the bad thing or whatever the something else is? That's kind of rough. That's kind of rough. You gonna celebrate that? Because I would never celebrate that. But y'all have a good rest of y'all day. It's been real over here for me. I hope that I've helped y'all in some kind of way. But y'all, let's not forget what America we live in. That's all I'm saying. Let's not forget what America we live in. We don't live in America that treats you fair. We don't live in America that cares about what your ego think of yourself. Okay? We live in America where somebody like Charlie Kirk is still considered a good white man. That's the America we live in. Now process that and do what you want with it. Y'all have a good rest of y'all day. Long live the habitual line steppers. I'm Roger. I'm right. And I'm out.